the U.S. Senate, but in the House, the Speaker does the swearing in, and House Republican leader Kevin McCarthy is facing enough opposition to possibly force multiple ballots in the vote for.
Hey, everybody, welcome back. It's good to be back. Hey, Ryan, are you back?
Never left.
Never left. Annie's back. We got a great day today. Right now, we're currently monitoring the situation on Capitol Hill as they vote for Speaker.
And behind you.
Yeah, you can see it.
Yeah.
And that leads us to our poll question. Do you support the 5 lead reps standing against Kevin McCarthy? That's our YouTube poll for today. The answers are real simple. Either you do, no, yes or no. Leave a comment, tell us why you do or why you don't. And that way Hannah can star them and she'll read them later on the show. Then at the top of the show, what we're going to do is we're going to have Jared Halpern come out, and he's going to report to us live from D.C. about what's going on. But right now, there's currently doing about, 36 to 33?
No, it's going to change here pretty soon to others. I think Bake's just got to vote.
And there's 2 for other people, and then 2 voted present. You need a majority to confirm. So we're going to keep an eye on that.
It's kind of like you said, things.
At 1:07, Jim Carafano is going to join us. He's the Vice President for Foreign and Security Policy at Heritage.
Did you say insecurity policy?
And
insecurity. This must be a New Year's resolution.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when you look at the southern border,
pretty insecure.
Ryan, what do you got for us today?
The big bombshell. Trump's tax returns. Why you haven't heard anything about them. I've got some clips that'll be fun. Be very fun. There are a couple things in them that are interesting, but obviously there's no reason that I'm not going to give it all away. Let's just leave it there. That's the topic. That's the topic. I do have a shirt here that I brought. If anybody wants to see.
Will you be wearing it or just showing it?
I don't know. We'll see how it fits. Brand new. Pulling out of the bag right now. XL, so my hopes are
What's
high.
that noise? Can we go make sure that noise doesn't happen during the show?
Like a drill coming in through the wall.
Is that out there?
McCarthy.
They're redoing the carpeting, and we had a pipe burst, which is on the other side of the building, other side of our office, but still in here. Like, there's a lot going on here today.
Yeah, everybody's got to clean out their offices because of all the carpet. Or if you're already out of your office because of water burst, then you've already cleaned out your office. But I found this shirt in my drawer. It says, "I'm feeling 2022." I haven't worn it all year.
Right on time.
Yep. Thought I got to wear it today or it's never going to be funny again. There we go.
All right, Annie, you got a live right after this. Retirement advisory.
Do I have that copy?
Good.
Unless, well, we can go back. We're done here. All right, let's put the radio on.
Okay.
Chilly, but nothing extreme. 45 and 38 for the high Thursday. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Damar.
So, you've unwrapped a new device this year. Don't forget to take your favorite stations and podcasts with you.
No matter where you go.
With the Odyssey app.
Stream the music and shows you love on your phone, tablet, laptop, smart speaker, and more.
Create an account to save your favorites across devices.
And jump back to the moments that matter most with Rewind.
Your favorite local listening. Available when and how you want.
Download the Odyssey app today to get started.
So let's talk about Thomas Helbig, the Retirement Advisory Group, and their new seminar coming at the end of January. It's January 24th. It's another Protecting Your Retirement educational event, and I cannot wait to see you there. You do have to reserve your spot. So if you want to listen to what Thomas Helbig, Bob Kershaw, and the family folks that run the Retirement Advisory Group, what they have to say about how they can get your financial future, your retirement in order, maybe this is a resolution of yours, to make sure that you face the music, you've saved, you've sacrificed, and you want to make sure that it's going to be there when you need it. This is free. This is easy. You call, you make your reservation, bring a friend along with you by calling 314-993-9494. It is at the Frontenac Hilton, 6:30 p.m. Seats are limited, so you need to go reserve your spot by calling 314-993-9494 and tell them that the Annie Frey Show sent you and enjoy this free event that I would be happy to see there. It starts at 6:30 p.m. I'll be there starting at about 6. You can learn more at retirementkey.com.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well,
trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter.com/radio.
Nobody should have to pay for one-size-fits-all insurance coverage. Liberty Mutual customizes your car and home insurance, so you only pay for what you need. Liberty Mutual Insurance.
Southern Armory, your Second Amendment headquarters, keeping in the most popular ammo and firearms on today's market. Can't find what you want? Have us order it. Southern Armory, 9901 Watson Road, 1 mile east of 270 and 44, and SouthernArmory.com. That's SouthernArmory.com.
That is exactly what I needed to hear.
Thank God someone here knows what they're talking about.
That's us. That's right. Gotta love this American ride.
All right, you need to take the time and get the full picture.
Come on, turn the radio on. It's Saturday and I won't be long.
Don't get me wrong, I love the ladies. I mean, they rev my engine, but they don't belong in the newsroom. It is Anchor Man, not Anchor Lady.
What do you want from me? I'm not America's sweetheart.
Goodness sake, kid. Keep your voice down. Your father's listening to the radio.
I'm not America's sweetheart.
This is the Annie Frey Show.
I don't know that Kevin McCarthy can do anything else than he has done. He helped raise the most amount of money. I think everybody would say we really like Kevin. But he has actually given in to most of every demand that these people have asked for. So I don't know where it's going to go.
Our friend Jason Chaffetz there, formerly of the House of Representatives, talking about the vote for the speakership. It is taking place right now. Let's listen into this riveting audio.
McCarthy.
So they're going through 435 names.
Biggs.
Ooh, that's an interesting one. Andy Biggs gets one. Had to turn the page over to write a vote down for Biggs.
McCarthy.
So they're in the G's right now.
Diego.
The vote stands at 64. McCarthy votes 66 votes for Jeffries. There have been 7 votes for other people so far. I am not going to suffer you through listening to these votes in alphabetical order for 435 individual House representatives to cast their vote. But this is democracy in progress, folks. I think that this is incredibly interesting. We will be following it here throughout the course of this show. We hope to connect here in just a minute with Jared Halpern, who is a political anchor and Washington correspondent on Fox News. And so we're going to discuss with him what's going on, and we'll see. Today's YouTube live chat poll on the Annie Frey YouTube channel. Do you support the 5 lead reps that are standing against Kevin McCarthy? Yes or no? It's a simple question. There are 5 people who have made a lot of demands towards Kevin McCarthy, and Kevin McCarthy's capitulated to quite a bit of them. He has given in on the one of the big things they wanted was like a motion to vacate. They wanted to be able to replace the Speaker of the House easier than they did previously. And he gave into that. He gave into a lot of different things. And it seems as though many of the concerns that these reps have had have been very procedural in nature. They're not necessarily in policy base or in ideology. It's more of the rules that are how the House of Representatives works. The Republicans taking their majority today, the Speaker no longer being Nancy Pelosi. But what happens if this vote, a majority of votes is needed to confirm the new Speaker? What happens if they are not able to come to a conclusion? We will have to wait and see, and we will continue to cover it. Jason Chaffetz said more on this
First
issue.
of all, we know more about how you elect Miss America than you do the Speaker of the House. the idea that this is done in such darkness
Similar process,
on both
though,
sides
right?
of the aisle. The process. But the process is not very, it's so opaque, you don't really see it. Like, what we're suddenly coming up, but what was the debate? What policies are there? Why aren't we watching this play out? Again, I've long advocated that how you do this process is wrong. Usually it just goes to the person who raises the most amount of money.
So Jason Chaffetz commenting about how the speaker becomes the speaker. Well, Representative Matt Gaetz is definitely one that has been standing in the way.
How was it productive? Insofar as that it was brief. Can you elaborate a bit more? I sure could. I mean, has he won your support yet, Congressman? No. Why not? I think I've laid that out extensively. I'll tell you what, I'll send you the speech I gave at Turning Point. I was able to extend my remarks there a little further. But I'm just curious, when you say productive, it didn't nudge you a bit toward yes? It was brief and productive. That's a different tone than you struck before. Thanks for noticing. So is he giving into your demands? It was a brief and productive discussion. You might vote for him tomorrow? You're not ruining it. Is it fair to say you're not ruining it? I'm a no.
I'm a no. That's what Matt Gaetz says. He's going to continue to be a no. And you got 5 representatives that you need 218. You need that in order to get the speakership. 218 Republicans at least to have the majority of votes that are going to be Republicans. Of course, a Democrat could vote for a Republican to be speaker. It's not going to happen. If you have 222, 5 people dissenting causes a problem. It depends on how many people show up today to vote. Will they all show up? Are they all 435? I think that when I heard a report this morning at Fox News, they said 434 people there. So there's one representative, I think, that is in question that wouldn't either be there or for some purpose like that. There are a lot of concerns in the Republican Party right now about leadership. There are a lot of concerns that voters have about the direction of the Republican Party. That's an honest, good concern to have right now, in my opinion, because I'm certainly concerned about the future of the Republican Party. The Republican Party should stand for something. It shouldn't always stand against the accusations that are levied against the party members, by a lot of the talking heads and the tweeting fingers that really tend to dictate the direction of the Republican Party in the past. There should be something bright about the Republican Party. Because the reasons why I invest my energies and my efforts into supporting the Republican Party is because of what the Republican Party stands for. Some cases, what the Republican Party stands against, but the bickering and the division and everything that causes Republican, conservative, constitutional progress to come to a screeching halt, I'm tired of it. And in 2023, this middle year that exists between the midterms that were not the success that the Republican Party expected to see, the year 2024, where we know there is going to be a dramatic political presidential election take place. 2023 is going to be a formative year for both parties. 2023 is going to be a year where the soul of each party is going to have to be searched and examined and really kind of exposed. And it's going to be an ugly process. 2 years ago, when Nancy Pelosi was going through the same process, this was ugly. And I know a lot of Republicans were like really raking the Democrats over the coals and talking about the political division within the party. Man, they got through that, didn't they? Because they got a lot done in those 2 years. And you didn't spend those 2 years being like, oh, remember when the Democrats were so mad at Nancy Pelosi and they were looking, I think Hakeem Jeffries was the one that they were voting against Nancy Pelosi for in the speakership right before she got it. One of the concessions that she made to her caucus, to the Democrats in the House, was that she would not seek the speakership again. She said she would step down, and she did, from leadership. If you look at what the Republican Party is doing right now, it is important to understand that if it feels gross and it looks ugly, that's because most politics is. The business, doing the business of the American people, first and foremost, is an industry at this point that is chock full of money and power and influence. And what we need to see is a Republican Party that is able to balance the necessary money that comes along with getting people elected and being out in front of constituents and being with constituents and learning from constituents. You cannot win in American politics without money. That is the name of the game. I would venture to say in many cases you cannot win in American politics. When we look at the voting laws that have changed, you cannot win in American politics if you don't understand how the Democrats are so decisively winning in places that they previously hadn't. The rules have changed. And if Republicans ever want to move those rules back to a place where they used to be, or to fortify an election day, or to stop, like in the state of Illinois, where you have 40 days to vote before election day, you're going to have to win elections the way they are now if you want to make the changes in the future. Because in Illinois, if you stick your head in the sand and then you get your butt spanked in the midterms, and you not only not minimize the supermajority of the Democrats, but they expanded the supermajority, it will continue to go in that direction. And you will never, ever figure out a way to bring common sense back to government, to leadership, and to the constituents that they represent. So you have to look at what's going on in the House today. You have to look at what Kevin McCarthy has done leading up to this moment. And in my opinion, of all of the things going on in the Republican Party, probably in the last 4 to 6 years, Kevin McCarthy is stuck in a perfect storm. If you look at Mitch McConnell and have questions about what Mitch McConnell has done in his most recent leadership, I'm right there with you. Looking at how Mitch McConnell makes decisions in his position of leadership, going all the way back to, let's say 2016, when Merrick Garland was denied his seat on the Supreme Court. President Obama nominated Merrick Garland to be a Supreme Court justice. That was the right of President Obama in his office as the president. Mitch McConnell didn't take it up in the Senate for a confirmation, and that was his right in the Senate. It seemed as though a lot of people thought that this was the end of Mitch McConnell, how he could dare take this away, take away the right of the president of the United States to appoint a Supreme Court justice. The constitutional nuance there is pretty important, isn't it? That the president was able to make that nomination. And he did. And Mitch McConnell did the politically expedient thing that, in my opinion, in many ways, shape, or form, got Donald Trump elected in 2016. Most of the politics that take place on Capitol Hill are very ugly, but it's a necessary evil to getting to the end of democracy and the way that this government stays to be the most closely related representative republic where you matter in government the most. So we watch as the speaker vote continues to take place, and we're joined now by Jared Halpern. He's a political anchor and Washington correspondent at Fox News Audio. Jared, thank you for your time today. We really appreciate it.
Apologies for my tardiness.
That's okay.
As I try and count the votes myself.
Yeah. Tell me, just give us your experience right now, because they're coming in this moment.
Listen, we're all going to witness something here that I don't think anybody in the press corps has witnessed since we've not had a second ballot for Speaker of the House in 100 years. It was today in 1923 that the last time that a vote for Speaker was not settled on its first ballot. And this is not going to be. There are already, and we're about halfway through the alphabet here, just to give listeners an idea, this is a unique vote in the House. It is a roll call vote. They do this routinely in the Senate, but the House almost never does a vote where they call the individual congressmen's names and then they vote. That's what happens. They go alphabetically. So we're about halfway through the alphabet right now, and there have already been 11 Republicans vote for somebody not named Kevin McCarthy. And so he is not going to get to 218, assuming everybody else votes here on this first ballot. In fact, at the end of this first round of voting, the top Democrat, Hakeem Jeffries, will likely be the top vote getter, although he'll also be short of 218. So by all accounts, we are headed for at least a second ballot. As I said, the first time that we've seen something like that here in 100 years. So there is not much of a playbook about what happens next. We can't roll the videotape to the last time this occurred. It happened, as I said, in 1923. Prior to 1923, it actually happened fairly regularly before the Civil War. But remember, before the Civil War, the House of Representatives was much more factional. It was a little bit more like a House of Parliament. These things happened. It has not happened in modern history, and certainly only once since the Civil War. So we are in unusual times, to say the least. And listen, this is about as bad a way, just from an optics standpoint, for Republicans to start in the majority, right? They come in, they win back the House. They want to start governing. They want to start setting up these committees. They want to start setting up this accountability that they say has been lacking, that they have been promised in their election campaigns. But nothing can happen in the House of Representatives, not a thing. In fact, members are actually members-elect. They're not even sworn in until there is a speaker elected. So the longer this goes on, the longer this drags out, the more this sort of narrative starts to build, the more Democrats are going to start to probably lick their chops a little bit, pointing and saying, see, these guys can't get their act together and even elect a speaker.
We're speaking with Jared Halpern with Fox News. There are 5 lead reps who have kind of been the prominent, obvious no votes against McCarthy.
Yeah,
and
it's been called sort of the Never Kevin wing of the party. It's like, sort of, I think that's what they've called themselves, because there were a group of McCarthy supporters who, before the recess, were handing out pins that said "OK" to stand for only Kevin. And people kind of, groan. It was like, is "OK" the best slogan for a candidate?
That's very average.
Okay.
So, Jared, tell me, I hear about them making demands. They want a motion to vacate to be simpler, to replace the speaker. They've made a lot of demands, and it seems to me like Kevin McCarthy has more than compromised with the demands of those 5.
Well, and that is the frustration from an awful lot. And Kevin McCarthy, by the way, just voted for himself to a standing ovation as we sort of do live play-by-play here. So as I say, they're about halfway through the alphabet, right? Where it's the McCarthy, the M's. So listen, that has been one of the frustrating things for most House Republicans, right, is they say that they are making an awful lot of concessions here to a rather small group of House Republicans. We heard today from South Dakota Republican Dusty Johnson, who heads sort of one of the more centrist kind of wings of the Republican Party. And he was like, listen, at what point does 10% get to tell the 90% what to do?
I just think about
that's kind of his frustration.
I just think about, like, if it does matter, though, that the majority is so slim that everybody gets a say.
Right. That's the real issue, right? People said, what's the biggest challenge for Kevin McCarthy? The answer is the math. If Republicans had a 20 or 30 seat majority and you lose 12 votes with a 20 seat majority, so what? Right?
Mm-hmm.
But he doesn't have that. He has he can lose 4 votes. That's a very small margin. It's the same margin that previous speakers have had to overcome. If you recall, Pelosi was in this position a couple of years ago. John Boehner was in this position several years ago. That's not unique. But how long this has been protracted and sort of the digging in and this not resolving itself sort of on the eve of the vote is what is unique here. Generally, there is a group, progressives in the case of Democrats, conservatives in the case of Republicans, who sort of make these demands, concessions are given, everybody kind of reaches an agreement and they move on. That has not been the case here. And so that's why there have been a lot of questions raised about what is the end game here if you're Kevin McCarthy, right? If you have 5, 6, 7, 8 Republicans that refuse to vote for you, how do you overcome that? At what point maybe do you start looking at an alternative, at a consensus candidate, if one exists?
Yeah, that was going to be my next question before we have to let you go. We're speaking with Jared Halpern with Fox News Audio. Is if it's not Kevin McCarthy, then whom? Because that person needs to be able to coalesce all of these Republicans. Is there an obvious person?
The obvious name, only because of the hierarchy of the system right now, is Steve Scalise, right? He's the Republican leader. He's the number 2 in leadership. But he has some of the same issues, at least if you talk to some of the Freedom Caucus folks that McCarthy has, right? He's been in leadership. They don't necessarily agree with previous votes. So in my view, that's the obvious choice, right? It is Steve Scalise comes and every Republican votes for him. In the absence of that, ideas get kind of out there, right? There's been talk about Republicans and Democrats from both parties maybe coming together and trying to find somebody. That seems pretty outlandish to me. But again, if this goes round after round after round, folks are going to start getting pretty creative, I think.
Yeah. I said that was my last question, but I just came up with another one. Is there any possibility that there are maybe some purple Democrats that are in the House who might go, you know what? McCarthy wants to keep the GOP squad, if you will, at bay. And if I lend my vote over here and he needs one or two, is there any possibility? Is that totally crazy that a Democrat would cross over and cast their vote for McCarthy, maybe on a second or 43rd ballot, whatever it might get to?
I don't think anything gets too crazy after a bunch of rounds here. But
Okay.
right now, that is not anything that I have heard. Democrats seem to be enjoying this moment and are going to let this play out as long as it plays out.
Well, we will watch. This is terrible. The interview is great radio. Listening to the votes, not so much. So we appreciate
Trying
you
my best.
come on here and giving it to us in a way that we can consume. Thank you for your time today, Jared. We really appreciate it. Bye-bye. Jared Halpern, the political anchor and Washington correspondent at Fox News Audio, working us into his schedule. Very kind of him to do that. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to continue to follow this vote throughout the course of the day. However many votes it takes, maybe, I don't know. I mean, it's chaos. And I remember enjoying watching the chaos when the Democrats were going through it, but knowing that Nancy Pelosi would get the job done. Why did I have confidence in that? Well, because I've seen Nancy Pelosi be Nancy Pelosi for so long. Do the Republicans have the ability to coalesce these votes? In my opinion, you got to have somebody who's going to be the Speaker of the House who can pull this off and is going to be willing to fight to the end. Maybe that's Kevin McCarthy. Maybe it's not. I want to know what you think on the YouTube live chat poll on the Annie Frey YouTube channel. Do you support the 5 lead reps standing against Kevin McCarthy? Yes or no? We'll be back with more Annie Frey Show in just a minute.
This moment will be gone, but I will bet.
You're listening to The Annie Frey Show on St. Louis's home for conservative talk.
That it somehow lingered on.
Find the podcast, on-demand audio, and more at 971talk.com/Annie.
If you're considering an annuity as part of your retirement plan, we need to talk. Hi, I'm Bob Stockdale, Senior Vice President Investments with the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel and host of On the Money, Saturday mornings at 11 on 97.1 FM Talk. Annuities can be a useful tool for some retirement investors, but not all annuities are created equal. Every week, we meet clients who own complex annuities that don't suit their needs and, in some cases, actively undermine their retirement plan. Before you purchase an annuity, get a second opinion from the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel. Requesting a consultation is free of charge. To request a free consultation, contact us at clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com, or call us at 636-695-2650. That's clearpathinvesting.com or 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas & Company Incorporated, member NYSE and SIPC.
So a new year, maybe new floors for you. If you are shopping for flooring anytime soon, start your process, or at least end your process, by visiting Michael's Flooring Outlet. You can go to igotfloored.com and see all of the amazing products that they have right there on their website. You can find out how to get an estimate for your project, but you can also peruse the different finishes, the different Mohawk Smart Strand colors, the different ways that their different flooring can look. And then when you go in to visit them at Michael's Flooring Outlet, you're going to kind of have a precursor as to what you are looking for. When you partner up with the sales staff at Michael's Flooring Outlet, you really get a taste of why they've been so successful in St. Louis as a family-owned and operated business for almost 3 decades. It's because they are dedicated to making your experience a most positive one that you are going to want to recommend Michael's Flooring Outlet to the next people when they say, oh, look, you got new floors. You won't want to stop talking about how great Michael's Flooring Outlet was for that process. When you reach out to them online, you can see, like I said, all the products that are available to them and also how to get that estimate and any savings, sales that they have going on, always listed there right at igotfloored.com.
If you own a home in St. Louis and you want to sell it as is without any inspections or the need to make any repairs, call Chris Buys Homes stlouis.com at 314-782-8000 and get your cash offer without any obligation, commissions, banks, or headaches. Chris buys vacant homes, inherited homes, fixer-uppers, beautiful homes, even the tenant who won't pay the rent apartment. Google us. Chris Buys Homes in St. Louis, and check out our best reviews from satisfied customers. When you sell to Chris, you decide when you want to move, according to your schedule and your terms. Go to our website, chrisbuyshomes.stlouis.com, or call Chris at 314-782-8000. That's 314-782-8000, and get the offer you've been waiting for. 314-782-8000.
Starting your morning in the right direction.
I listen to you every morning.
The Mark Cox Morning Show.
My husband and I both work for a living, and it's really hard to watch the news, so thank you.
Weekdays from 5 to 9.
Good morning, Mark. Thank you so much for what you do.
On 97.1 FM Talk.
The Annie Frey Show is streaming online. Watch us live on YouTube and subscribe.
Bright lights, they won't leave me alone. I need a shadow or a hole in the wall. 'Cause baby, I don't know what kind of state I'm in. We got a ways to go. I've been around this whole town by now, and I can tell you how you're supposed to get out. Baby, I don't know what kind of state I'm in. We got a ways to go.
Welcome back to the Annie Frey Show. Happy New Year to you and to yours. The whole crew back here on the Annie Frey Show, and we are excited to spend some of this time with you, and we are always grateful when you choose to spend it with us here in St. Louis's home for conservative talk, 97.1 FM Talk. The vote for the speakership is happening in this moment right now. And the vote, if you want to, this is what this sounds like. They list the name, like we just heard from Jared Halpern. You can rewind about 10 minutes ago. We started talking to him. They read the name and then they give a vote. And people are voting for McCarthy on the Republican side. Jeffrey is on the Democrat side. But there have been 18 people who have voted for somebody other than the two of those. So here's, this is Ronna McDaniel talking right now. So never mind. We'll pull this down. So you listen to the way it goes. They say like range, and then Brad would go
McCarthy,
Ryan Wiggins, and then everyone goes, oh, gasp, and then Wiggins gets a vote. That would make his day, wouldn't it?
That would put him under the others.
Yes. Yes. But there are quite a few people in Congress. They need to get through all of them. They go one by one. And there have already been 18 people who have voted for somebody other than Jeffries or McCarthy. So we wait and see. When we spoke with Jared Halpern just before, he was talking about how unprecedented this is. If it goes to a second ballot, people don't really know what's going to happen next. So we sit, we watch, we wait. I took off quite a few days. I think, did I count? It was like 11 days total. Friday before Christmas Eve was my first day off, and it progressed through today being my first day back. And every time I take one of these lengthy vacations, I try really, really hard, especially over the holiday season, of course, to unplug and to be present 100% for my kids, for my husband and my family, and spend the time that we have together, not checking my, notifications on my phone and reading through Twitter and reading articles and so on and so forth. There's been a lot of news that has happened in the last couple weeks. The politics of all of this is in full force right now with this speakership vote. The Republicans have the majority in the House. We are going to watch what the Republicans are going to do with the majority in the House. But right now, the Republicans are doing some soul searching on a very, very public stage. I think this is going to breed a lot of frustration in people who are ready to see the party that hasn't had any majority anywhere in Washington, D.C. get to work, get the business of the people done. One of the first acts of this new majority in the House was supposed to be to repeal the funding for those 87,000 IRS agents. That is on hold until they can figure out the business of electing a speaker. So we sit and we watch and we wait. When I spend time at home and I spend time with my kids, and my husband is a teacher, he's off, so we get to spend this whole chunk of time. It's a glorious time for me to be at home, to be with them, and to spend this time like only focusing on the epicenter of what matters in life. I see politics, I think, a little bit more the way the majority of Americans see politics. The priorities get realigned in my life. And I like to think on this show that I talk a lot about my family, I talk about my faith, and I hope that I articulate that is the priority of my life. But let's be real, when you get deep into your work, whatever your work might be, maybe you're in construction and you've got a big project and you're trying to stay on time and you're dealing with supply chain issues or employment issues. You own a small business and you can't keep good help around, or you've got good help, but maybe they're retiring. I don't know what the problem is, but you get deep into it and you care deeply about it. You still have your family, you still have your faith, you still have those things that matter to you deeply. But you get in deep with work and the things that you pour yourself into that puts food on the table for those priorities that you have in your life. If you get to the point where your work becomes the priority in your life and you forget that you're working to live as opposed to living to work, that can be a very heavy burden to bear that maybe you don't realize you're lifting on a day-to-day basis. That becomes problematic. And anytime I get to pull away, which is why it's healthy to take time off, to take time away, anytime I get to step away, it's important for me, because the news is also my work, to pull away from that and to disconnect in a way that makes it so that if people see me out and about when I'm on vacation and they're like, "Oh, did you hear?" I'm like, "Nope. You can tell me about it if you want, but I didn't hear because I haven't been paying attention." It doesn't make any of those things that are out there less important, but what it does for me the most, and I'm telling you this not because I'm telling you what to do, I'm telling you what I've learned in the last 11 days or so, that I learn anytime I take a long stretch of vacation and stuff's happening and it's important and I have to push against the idea of diving headfirst and picking up my phone and telling my kid to hold on, or getting out my laptop instead of watching the animated film on the couch with a kid in my lap. All of the stuff that's going on in Washington, D.C. today, you need to focus. Please, I implore upon you, because I'm imploring upon myself, and you will hold me accountable to do this for you if you choose to spend your fraction of noon to 3 here with us on the Annie Frey Show. The reason why what's going on in Washington, D.C. is important right now is because of how it affects the things that are the real priorities in your life. If you're like me and you're raising kids, or if you've got grandkids running around your home and you are looking at the future, the literal future that's about 3'4", that's running around your house and giggling and, playing with their new toys they got for Christmas and spending time with family. If you're looking at your literal future, the future of this country, of Earth, and you're saying, I don't really like the direction that this country is headed for these people, and you have anger because of that, or motivation because of that, or inspiration because of that, you're in the right place. If you are somebody who is focusing on improving your life, you've made New Year's resolutions that maybe key in on a part of yourself that you could be better at, you should be better at. And you should be better at those things for the people who are around you who matter, which is to push at an arm's length distance this very new age, postmodern view of how we should live our lives, which is to put ourselves at the epicenter and tell anybody who wants to make you feel even the slightest bit self-critical to take a hike. Because, listen, honey, there's nothing wrong with you. You're fine. You're perfect just the way you are. That's just not true. We have so much room for improvement within our own lives, within our own homes, within our own reach. We have to say the same thing about our own party. But if your anger, if you're driving anger, you're driving frustration, if your support for these 5 Republicans, and I'm talking to you Republicans. If you're a Democrat out there and Matt Gaetz is making your day because he's messing with the entire Republican Party in the House of Representatives, I get that. You get this moment. It's all yours. Enjoy it completely. I totally understand that. But sit over here for a second because I'm talking to the Republicans. If the frustration that you have when you look at the Republicans who are elected to represent you, who aren't even sworn in yet in the House because they have to elect a speaker first. If your frustration is because you feel like the red team isn't doing the thing today to put a red point on the board, and you don't like to see the blue team win, if that's your motivation, if that's your inspiration, if that's your frustration, and that's the leading point of it, then we're upside down. The thing that will drive this Republican Party, that would drive the Democratic Party, that would drive any political party to a place of success, it all is based on a firm foundation. It's all has to be rooted in the idea that there is something more important than a Tuesday afternoon political victory for my guy. And we are so encouraged on a surface level daily basis to root for our team and to forget the why we root for our team. To pour ourselves into this understanding of the importance of Republican victory and making sure that you understand that we're at war here. Listen, we are at war. We've always been at war. We will always be at war until, my opinion, Jesus comes back to finish the deal. When it comes to politics, make sure you know which battlefield you're fighting on and what you're fighting for. Because there's always going to be another fight, another Republican-Democrat fight. There's always going to be another political battle tomorrow, the day after, the day after, the day after. If you are not winning and fighting to win those fights for the right reasons, you will never, ever, ever feel satisfied. And in fact, the only way to have confidence and peace in a loss is to know that you fought for the right thing in the first place. And if you go into battle and you don't know why you're fighting and you lose, that's hard to reconcile. If the only thing that is on your plate at the end of the day is the understanding that you lost a battle, but you don't know why you put yourself in a position to lose something that you didn't even know what you're fighting for, you're never going to have peace. In 2023, while this political soul searching takes place on both sides of the aisle, dig deep into your reason why you want to see a Republican victory, why you want to see a Democrat victory, why you want to see both sides fail, or if you want to see both sides come together to succeed. I don't think that's going to happen. I think that's a pipe dream. But what is it that you want? Not what is anybody telling you to want, not what anyone is telling you about why you need to support these people who are against Kevin McCarthy or why you need to support Kevin McCarthy. Me personally, I have no problem with Kevin McCarthy becoming the speaker, and I would love it if they would get to the business of the American people and get done with this. But I understand that in this slim of a majority, everybody has a voice, and they're using it. And everybody who's using their voice in a way that slows things down will receive the benefits and the consequences of those actions. It's their choice to do that. It gives me a reason to think certain ways about these people who are standing in the way or standing in defense of what they're fighting for. But know what you care about. Know what you're building your political philosophy on. Politics can't be the priority. And it has been so easy in a tainted social media landscape, in a tainted media landscape. It has been so simple for the game, the field to be leveled against conservative-minded people in the past. I feel like it'd be pretty hard to argue against that. with the media and with social media. I'm sure there will be people who do. Free speech, your ability to go on Twitter and say things that you haven't been able to say openly before, we have a very exciting 12 months ahead of us. But you have to be you in it, because the party can't be strong if the people at the top get to partition us into groups of people, into factions of people who are infighting for power and for money that equals power. I hope that in 2023, you will join me, because that's what I'm working on. And I want to be held accountable. If it seems like we're getting a little too, red shirt versus blue shirt here, we try really hard not to do that. I want the party to react to what the people want. Don't be part of the people who react to what the party want. The party doesn't even know what it wants. Weekends America, about Trump's tax returns when we come back. Of all of the things that I delved into over the holiday break, I did actually read a little bit about Trump's tax returns, but we're going to get the deep part of it from Ryan Wiggins right here on the Annie Frey Show when we come back. Don't go away.
But I'm going. God loves it, won't leave me alone.
This is the Annie Frey Show.
Baby, I don't know what kind of state I'm in. We got a ways to go.
Follow Annie on Twitter at Annie Frey Show.
I can tell you how you're supposed to get out. 'Cause baby, I don't know what kind of state I'm in.
Calling all contractors, come out wherever you are.
Andrea, what are you doing?
Scott, I'm letting contractors know that at Best Buy Flooring, we have a huge new in-stock selection of carpet, luxury vinyl plank, laminate, and ceramic tile at low prices.
Don't forget hardwood.
Right, and it's all available at both locations, 7301 North Lindbergh in Hazelwood, Missouri, and 1851 West US Highway 15, O'Fallon, Illinois.
Open 7 days a week. Best flooring, best selection, Best Buy Flooring. See you there.
Gosh, this is going to be the easiest 60 seconds that I've probably ever talked about when it comes to sponsor the show. Slim 180. Are you interested in Slim 180 here on January 3rd? Maybe more than you were on, December 15th. Now is the time to reach out to myslim180.com. Reach out to them and figure out how they can help you with your weight loss goals. If it's a New Year thing, I get it. A lot of people making lifestyle decisions right now, drinking more water, getting more sleep. If you want to lose weight and you want to create habits that are going to keep the weight off throughout the year, so you're not making the same resolution come 2024, you can reach out to MySlim180. Mention the Annie Frey Show when you do, because it's going to be worth your time, and ask them about the different plans that they have. HCG injections is what I have lost the most weight on, but they don't have to be injections. They have drops, and they also have nutritional guidance programs that are helping St. Louisans lose the weight every day, not just in the beginning of January. Reach out to them to talk to them about these savings that you can have, and mention the Annie Frey Show when you do. They have 3 locations across the St. Louis area. You can visit them online at myslim180.com. Annie Frey here. If you're nearing retirement or already retired, call my friend Thomas Helbig with the Retirement Advisory Group at 314-993-9494. He'll show you strategies on how to participate in the market gains without ever losing a penny. Thomas is the official financial advisor of the Annie Frey Show.
At NeoVitan, our goal is to create safe, dependable multivitamins to support your everyday nutrition when you need it most. That's why we've formulated NeoVitan 50-plus multivitamins with 20 daily ingredients, including B vitamins for energy support, vitamin C for immune support, and Dr. Abicki's 4-ingredient proprietary blend that you won't find in any other multivitamins. NeoVitan 50-plus multivitamins come in 2 specifically designed formulas to help support your nutritional needs. NeoVitan Men's 50-plus multivitamin for men 50 and older, and NeoVitan Women's 50-plus multivitamin for women 50 and older. With a 4.8 out of 5-star rating on Trustpilot, you can be sure you are getting quality nutritional support with NeoVitan. Support your best life today with NeoVitan 50-plus multivitamins. Available at your local Dierbergs, Schnucks, and online with our easy-to-use monthly subscriptions at neovitan.com. That's NeoVitin.com. neovitan.com.
You're listening to the Annie Frey Show live from the Air Comfort Service Heating, Cooling, and Insulation Studio. Air Comfort Service is hiring licensed journeymen. Don't have a journeyman license? Air Comfort Service will help you get it. Get guaranteed hours year-round and more. Apply online at aircomfortservice.com.
Celebrating 22 years as St. Louis's home for conservative talk.
97.1 FM Talk. Thanks for being a part of it. You're listening to The Annie Frey Show.
I've been trying to do it right. I've been living a lonely life.
Follow Annie on Twitter at Annie Frey Show.
I've been sleeping in my bed. Sleeping in my bed.
Welcome back to the Annie Frey Show. We are watching as the House Speaker vote continues on the House floor. McCarthy got 203 votes. Jeffries got 212, and there were 19 votes for others. Everybody who was there voted, and that's 434, which is what we had suggested would be the total before. So now it goes to a second ballot. It hasn't happened in 100 years, but we seem to be rewriting the history books with every, I don't know, I was going to say semester, half of year, every election, something crazy and unprecedented goes. So now it'll go to a second ballot. We'll see if McCarthy is able to coalesce the Republicans on this end, or if somebody else is going to emerge, or if maybe a new name will be thrown out. We don't know. We're monitoring it throughout the entire show. We will bring you all of the updates as they happen. But right now, we need to talk about Trump's tax.
Wiggins! Oh! Wiggins!
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, and welcome back. It sounds like you were unplugged, but you did hear a little bit about this one, huh?
Yeah, this one was funny to me.
That's actually one of the reasons I brought it up.
The common understanding from Trump's tax returns is, can he do my taxes? Can Trump's tax guy do my taxes?
No, that's a great takeaway, because I pulled up a story from The Hill. I was looking for sort of the most salacious headlines to come out of this the day that it came out, all the way through the weekend and up till today, and there really aren't any.
Honestly, that's why I paid attention to it, because the headlines were so womp that I thought by the time I got back to work, this might not be a story and I might not even remember to look it up.
Exactly.
But it's a story on the Annie Frey Show.
It's got to be. Well, it's a story that it's not a story, because it's a. I mean, we've been here. I'm going to pull up from the debate in October of 2016. Hillary and Trump. Remember this?
He's paid nothing in federal taxes, because the only years that anybody's ever seen were a couple of years when he had to turn them over to state authorities when he was trying to get a casino license, and they showed he didn't pay any federal income tax. So
that makes
if
me
he's
smart.
paid.
That's it. That's the line. That makes me smart. And that's what this article from The Hill is about. It says Trump tax returns raise alarms about fairness of U.S. tax code. That's it.
Do you have the Chappelle sound?
I figured you would.
I was wondering if you would care if I...
I'm watching the news now. They're declaring the end of the Trump era. Now, okay, I can see how in New York you might believe this is the end of his era. I'm just being honest with you. I live in Ohio amongst the poor whites. A lot of you don't understand why Trump was so popular, but I get it, because I hear it every day. He's very loved. And the reason he's loved is because people in Ohio have never seen somebody like him. He's what I call an honest liar. Well, I'm not joking right now. He's an honest liar. That first debate, I've never seen anything like it. I've never seen a white male billionaire screaming at the top of his lungs, "This whole system is rigged," he said. And across the stage was a white woman, Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama, sitting over there looking at him like, "No, it's not." I said, "Now, wait a minute, bro." That's what he said. And the moderator said, "Well, Mr. Trump, if in fact the system is rigged, as you suggest, what would be your evidence?" You remember what he said, bro? He said, "I know the system is rigged because I use it." I said,
I mean, that was the entire, to me, when I read that story, I'm like, Dave Chappelle, man, that's right there.
It's so pertinent. And what he said was before all this came out. I mean, it's even more pertinent now after this came out, because that is the only complaint. Now, there's been a couple of things about writing off some Stormy Daniels stuff as business expenses.
But it wasn't illegal.
It's not. It's not illegal.
That's not the only questionable activity between Trump and Stormy Daniels is the tax write-off. There's more to it than that on a moral level. On a tax level, the law is the law. Is it legal? It's legal.
Yeah. Like, the thing that blows my mind is even at the debate, when you played that audio from the debate, she's like, he hasn't paid a dime in taxes. He didn't go, that's not true. He said, that makes me smart. He never denied that he didn't pay taxes.
And that was what was so weird. And that's what Chappelle pointed out, is that he just owned these things. He said, look, I've been in the public eye. You know me from TV. I've been in the public eye for a long time. Here I am. What she's saying is true. If I don't do that, I'm an idiot.
Yeah.
People, we're getting comments on our live chat right now. You can join us in the Annie Frey YouTube live chat and comment as well. But people are like, did you see how much he paid to China? Okay, let's look at Donald Trump's wealth when he started in politics and where it is right now. Can we, if we entertain the conversation about taxes paid to China, can we at least entertain the idea of Joe Biden's finances and how they might be tied to some very pertinent countries across the pond right now? Because I think maybe both are yes.
Yeah, concerning his monetary wealth going into office and coming out of it, here's Tucker on that very issue.
So Democrats have been huffing about Donald Trump's tax returns for years now, like 6 years now. When you see what's in his tax returns, personal checks from Vladimir Putin, but you couldn't see him because people's tax returns are private. That's sacrosanct. But not with Donald Trump, because he's a bad man. So the normal laws don't apply, and Congress just grabbed his tax returns and then released them to the public. And you know what they show? They show that he got poorer in public service. Probably the only president in modern history who got poorer while serving as president. Compare that to Nancy Pelosi or Mitch McConnell, both of whom have gotten very rich in, quote, air quotes now, public service. Trump lost tens of millions of dollars. So it's not really a bombshell. It's actually kind of a case for Trump.
Yeah,
if I were the Democrats, I'd be like, well, maybe that's because you're stupid.
If I was
know how to play the
Democrats,
game right.
I would release this right before a long holiday weekend and hope that nobody talked about it. That's what I would do, and that's exactly what they did, because there is just nothing here. And in fact, it's amazing that this was such an issue for so long. I remember Rachel Maddow bringing it up, and I mean,
most people don't. You know why?
Because it didn't yield anything. Is that why?
How long have they been on this, too, trying to get these tax returns? Since before he was elected?
Since the debate. I mean, that clip that I played was from 2016 of October, and it was before that they were talking about it.
And we're 2 years into Biden's presidency, and the result is nothing.
Yes. Last point to make really quick. He released 6 years of tax returns only by force. Again, thousands and thousands of pages. Rachel Maddow complained that she only had 2 pages when she got it. This is thousands of pages. It's from the Ways and Means Committee. It's everything they wanted, they got from him, and still absolutely nothing.
I don't think it's a nothing burger. I think the fact that it exposes a little bit about who Trump is, the good, the bad, and the ugly. The thing is that it's not anything that we didn't know already. Like the idea that he's somebody he's not. The Democrats, the people on the left, the leftists who want to comment and criticize him on his tax returns, you're not making a case, at least to me, that Donald Trump is somebody who I didn't think he was. Maybe you have a misunderstanding of who Republicans accept Donald Trump as the man that he is. And maybe you miscount how bad Democratic policies are for this country as to why we'd be willing to sustain more of it. Let's talk to Jim Carafano when we come back.
I'm Howard Mackler of GetRefunds.com. You might have heard me talk about the payroll tax refund for businesses who kept employees on payroll during COVID. But today, I'm not going to do the talking. I'm letting a real Get Refunds client tell you everything.
I'm Jason Hall, owner of Washington Crab in North Carolina. We are a seafood company with a couple restaurants and a big catering operation. COVID stopped us dead in our tracks, literally having to lock our doors to follow government shutdown orders. I learned about the payroll tax refund through research of COVID relief programs. I initially asked my CPA if I was eligible for the program, and she told me no. I heard about GetRefunds.com while listening to the radio. I reached out to them, and they immediately started helping me file a claim. They quickly got me approved for a payroll tax refund, and with that capital, I kept my staff employed, and I'm weathering this recession and high inflation. If you have a business, you should go to GetRefunds.com and start your claim now.
GetRefunds.com helped their business, and we can help yours too. Go to GetRefunds.com, powered by Innovation Refunds.
Everybody is looking for ways to tighten their belts financially right now, because if you're not paying attention to what's going on. And I know that you already are. C.A. Jones has an answer for you when it comes to building homes on the Illinois side of the river. They have a way to make sure that when you build your home, you build it with a top energy efficient home builder in the area. That's C.A. Jones. They build their homes to make sure that the energy efficiency pays its dividends throughout the years that you live in that house, because as we watch energy prices go up, your home built by C.A. Jones is going to be insulated, no pun intended, from those types of increases. They come with a HERS rating that shows how efficient that home is. They provide a lifetime waterproof basement warranty and a 10-year structure warranty. When you get a house build from C.A. Jones, you're going to have the confidence that it's going to be one that you can spend lots of time in with confidence. You can learn all about how they build homes on the Illinois side of the river by checking out their website at cajonesinc.com. That's cajonesinc.com.
KFTK FM Florissant. From the Under Law Injury Lawyers, GetJim.com studio. 97.1 FM Talk. Always live on the free Odyssey app.
Division on display. I'm Lisa Brady, Fox News. The new Congress is underway with a new Republican House majority, but the vote for House Speaker is headed to a second ballot and possibly more for the first time in a century.
As it stands, I will not be voting for Kevin McCarthy as Speaker.
Colorado Republican Lauren Boebert and other House Freedom Caucus members, like Florida's Matt Gaetz, say they are not swayed to support House Republican leader Kevin McCarthy.
If you want to drain the swamp, you cannot put the biggest alligator in charge of the exercise.
McCarthy needs an outright majority, likely 218 votes, to become Speaker, a tally he can't reach with just a handful of Republican holdouts.
And I will always fight to put the American people first, not a few individuals that want something for themselves.
The House will vote, one tally after another, until a Speaker is elected.
Fox's Jared Halpern on Capitol Hill. Other House business essentially on hold in the meantime, with the Speaker needed first to swear in House members. McCarthy falling well short on the first ballot, with several other Republicans getting a handful of votes, leaving House Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries with more votes than McCarthy. Smooth sailing in the U.S. Senate, where Vice President Kamala Harris administered the oath. Majority Leader Chuck Schumer appealing for unity.
If both sides are willing to give it a good faith effort, I'm optimistic we can be successful, far more successful than many might think.
And Democrats now have a 51-49 edge in the Senate, including 3 independents counted as caucusing with the Democrats. The NFL just announcing that last night's Bills-Bengals game, suspended after a serious injury, will not be resumed this week. They're not ruling out a later date, though the playoffs begin January 14th. Bills safety Damar Hamlin remains in critical condition after suffering cardiac arrest on the field. America is listening to Fox News.
It's Jesse Kelly. Why do you think so many countries have huge gold reserves? Gold lasts. The value of gold lasts. How many times have I told you, buy things you can touch and feel, because you know the value lasts. There's nothing like precious metals, nothing out there like it. I buy all my gold from Oxford Gold Group. 833-974-1300. They'll deliver it to your front door. Oxford Gold Group.
Some people get COVID and thought, well, that wasn't such a big deal. But you can get COVID again, and next time it could be worse, especially for those 50 and older, or with a chronic condition like heart disease or diabetes. But with an updated vaccine, you have better protection from COVID's worst outcomes, and that's a big deal. Find updated COVID vaccines near you at vaccines.gov. We can do this. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation. Weather.
A few more hours of warmth across St. Louis with the southwest flow. Partly to mostly sunny skies. Windy, 68 today. The record, 68 from 1939. Going to be really, really close. Tonight, more and more clouds. Winds turn to the northwest, turning colder, 35. Wednesday, partly sunny, windy, and chilly, but nothing extreme, 45 and 38 for the high Thursday. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Damar.
Second Amendment Radio is a staple of solid firearm information on 97.1 every weekend. Saturday from 3 to 4 and Sunday from noon to 1. It's Second Amendment Radio and the great outdoors. 97.1 FM Talk.
Hi, this is Andy Berg, board-certified master arborist with Hanson's Tree Service. Leaving your ash trees unprotected from the emerald ash borer may lead to an unforeseen rapid decline in their health. Go to hansonstree.com to find out how we can service your trees today.
The federal government is hiring 87,000 new IRS employees and enforcement agents. Make no mistake, with spending out of control, they're looking to collect revenue. The first target will be you. If you have not paid your taxes or filed them in years, let me help you get that target off your back. Hi, this is Lance Drury with the Lance Drury Law Firm here in St. Louis. So if you have unfiled returns, wage levies, bank levies, or tax liens, now's the time to call the Lance Drury Law Firm before the IRS calls you. Your consultation is free, so don't put it off. The Lance Drury Law Firm focuses solely on tax resolution law. It's all we do. And if you have IRS problems, you have legal problems. Let us use our tax law resolution experience to guide you and work on your custom resolution plan. Call now. It's free and confidential. Call me, Lance Drury, at 314-260-6120 or go to LanceDruryLaw.com.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements.
I'm Dr. Nick Barnes at Health From Within Family Chiropractic in Rock Hill. At Health From Within, our mission is to transform the way you manage your health by bringing you the truth about health and healing. We use proven techniques to remove interference in the nervous system and maximize health naturally, without drugs or surgery. Connect with me at healthfromwithinstl.com and join me for Maximize Living on this station every Sunday at 8 a.m. or download the Maximize Living podcast, healthfromwithinstl.com.
Don't put off getting the IT security for your small business, for your church, for the entity that you're associated with, to making sure that you are protected. And I say that because when you don't have a problem with IT, you don't really think about it. When you do have a problem with IT, chances are it's all you're going to think about, because these types of problems, these types of securities for your information, the intellectual property that you might have, the way you function, the way you make money, the way you potentially feed your family, it's very important that it stays protected. Roadmap Technologies. That's the solution for you. RoadmapTech.com is the website. And when you reach out to Roadmap Technologies, 314-222-0057, 314-222-0057, they are going to walk you through the process of having an affordable advocate on your side who's going to protect your IT, who's going to make sure that you have the correct licensure for the software parts that you're using, to make sure that you're not overspending for IT services or protections that maybe you've picked up here and there and along the way. Roadmap Tech can walk you through the whole process. Reach out to Roadmap Technologies at 314-222-0057 or visit them online at roadmaptech.com.
Join us at Odyssey as we all do our one thing. Together, millions of things for our planet. Resolve to recycle more. Recycle paper, bottles, and cans directly, and recycle old clothes by donating them. When we each share our one thing, it becomes a million things for our planet. What's your one thing?
That is exactly what I needed to hear.
Thank God someone here knows what they're talking about.
That's us. That's right. Gotta love this American ride.
All right, you need to take the time and get the full picture.
Come on, turn the radio on. It's Saturday and I won't be long.
Don't get me wrong. I love the ladies. I mean, they rev my engine, but they don't belong in the newsroom. It is Anchor Man, not Anchor Lady.
What do you want from me? I'm not America's sweetheart.
Goodness sake, kid. Keep your voice down. Your father's listening to the radio.
I'm not America's sweetheart.
This is the Annie Frey Show.
As of now, we know that the suspect was on the radar of law enforcement, even though he didn't have a criminal history. In fact, one of his family members alerted authorities a couple of weeks ago, and therefore he was in a federal database. And also, officials were able to retrieve a couple of his personal belongings, a backpack, and in that backpack there was cash, a pocket knife, as well as terrorist propaganda. You mentioned that while he was in his hospital bed this weekend, he expressed jihadist views. Well, apparently that relative who alerted authorities said that he expressed those same sentiments at that time as well. So obviously still a lot of questions tonight, but as far as a motive, it's still unclear what motivated him to carry out this alleged attack.
It's unclear what that caused this New Year's Eve machete attack. There's an NBC News report. Haven't heard jihadist terrorism recently in our conversations about threats against Americans, or really threats in general. We talk a lot about the southern border. We talk a lot about Ukraine, about Russia, about China, about North Korea. But what happened on New Year's Eve? Is it a bigger deal than people are shining a light on because everybody's paying attention to the politics taking place in Capitol Hill today. And the person to ask for that, of course, is our friend Jim Carafano.
Jim Carafano,
These are dangerous times.
Vice President for Foreign and Security Policy at Heritage.
Well, right there we heard him say these are dangerous times. And, having some sort of actual terrorist attack on New Year's Eve in New York City is something we haven't heard about for a while, at least not in the mainstream news. But, Jim, I was curious what your thoughts were when you heard about this attack.
Well, I have a whole mountain full of thoughts. Starting with, I have to tell you, I've really been excited about this interview. I've been looking forward to it all year.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
So I was listening to Fox yesterday, and they had the roundtable. They go, "What are your predictions for next year?" And one of them said, "Well, I predict there will be a terrorist attack in the United States." And I had to laugh. It's like, yeah, because we haven't had one of those in like 24 hours. Right?
Yeah.
We had one on Christmas Eve. And the reality is we actually have terrorist attacks not infrequently in the United States. We don't talk about them all that much because they don't rise to the level of 9/11. And this kind of global activity we actually see all over the world on a relatively sadly on a recurring basis. The UK's had a number of these things. So these kind of things happen. So we forget about transnational terrorism just because it hasn't lived to the existential level of a direct attack in the United States. Although we've said many times on this show, America today is actually more vulnerable to a 9/11 style attack than they were on 9/11, specifically because of our open border policy. And I want to say something now, but I want to be really clear to make a distinction and we've talked about this on the show before. I get very frustrated when I hear these people like, why are we spending money on Ukraine? We should be spending money on homeless vets. And it's not like mixing apples and oranges. It's like mixing apples and supercomputers. I mean, they're just completely different things. First of all, Ukraine's a foreign policy thing. Homeless vets are a domestic policy thing. We're spending trillions of dollars. A rounding error of that is what we're spending in Ukraine. And the problem with homeless vets, of course, is not that we're not spending money. Go to California. They're spending lots of money. Okay, we have stupid leaders with stupid domestic policies. That's the reason why you have high gas prices. It's not because we're spending money on Ukraine. It's because we have stupid energy policies. So, and I hate when people conflate that as if their alternatives are one stupid policy or another, a different policy. But this is different because what we have here is we only have one set of law enforcement agencies. They can only do certain things. And we talked about this issue on the show before. The politicization of law enforcement agencies, having to do them things which are politically popular and expedient for the president and his party, like investigating school boards and running down people, and the amount of energy that we put into that, and where does that come from? That directly transfers from having time and resources spending on tracking down terrorists, enforce immigration law, going after cartels. Those are hard choices, right? People say we shouldn't be spending money on Ukraine. We should be spending money on the border. Well, before Ukraine war, Biden spent zero on the border. Right? If there was no Ukraine war, Biden would be spending zero on the border. So it's not a spending issue. But when it comes to law enforcement assets, when they say, well, why wasn't somebody out looking for a guy like this? It's because that guy was doing something else. And that something else probably was politically expedient for the Biden administration, but it wasn't in the best interest of public safety and American people. That, I think, is a fair complaint.
We're speaking with Jim Carafano. He's the Vice President for Foreign and Security Policy at the Heritage Foundation. I hear a story like this, and it sounds more, at least the way the news cycle has been here recently, it sounds more 2003 than 2023 to be talking about, jihadism in New York City. And, September 11th, 2001 was when I was a senior in high school. It was a very impressionable time for me, for my friends, many of them who turned 18 and signed up to be in the military to fight for the country when the country was effectively at war. And I hear something like this, and it makes me feel like, even being saturated in conversations with you weekly and the news, right, that we're taking our eye off the ball a little bit when we get so politically wrapped up in domestic terrorists being parents at school board meetings. Like, it is obnoxious that is an association that has been made. But actually, I got to put myself in your mind just for a hot second here and go, you must be losing your mind watching people be distracted by the simplest, stupidest things, knowing that there are real threats that exist in this world.
Well, I mean, and this is the real face of, this is 2023 transnational radical terrorism. What we're seeing is basically, relatively low-level, unsophisticated acts of people who are truly radical. We see all kinds of radicals in different other world, but they can hurt and kill people. And so this is why when people say, well, we should be going after extremists, we think when we say we should be going after extremists, we think are evidence of people who have extreme views, and yet we see the precursor activity that suggests that they might go off and do something violent and kill people. If you look at the Twitter dumps and the information we have on what this administration is focused, their definition of radical extremist behavior are literally people that have different political views from them that should be investigated for that simply because they disagree with the government. And they have different views on everything from public health policy to what happened on January 6th or what they think about. And to them, that is radical behavior. And so, yes, when you're looking, the joke about the guy that's looking for his keys and the cop says, well, where's your car? And he goes, it's down the block. He goes, well, why are you looking here? And he goes, well, there's a light post here and the light's better. Right? These guys want to look for criminal activity where it's politically expedient, not where you're likely to find criminals.
Gosh.
And not only does that mean we're wasting a lot of resources, it means these very difficult things to find, which are yahoos that may go out and kill somebody, it gets really harder because you're not putting in the hard work and resources to look for them. And this is a frustration. After 9/11, we said we need Department of Homeland Security, we need more FBI resources. We wanted all those things to provide more public safety. And to be honest, what the Biden administration has done is taken all of them and to do things that are more politically expedient. The U.S. government is the world's largest human trafficker. That's what they're using the resources that we wanted for after 9/11. The U.S. government is spying and investigating on American citizens as probably egregiously as any time since the World War I in the Woodrow Wilson administration. And that's because they've taken the instruments that we gave them to protect us and they've turned them against us. And that's me speaking. This is a guy that argued for Department of Homeland Security, argued for taking radical threats seriously. But nobody argued for this. It's like the guy that argues for having a bank is not a guy that's arguing for massive fraud on the part of the board of the bank to take all the money from the depositors.
Jim, when I hear you elaborate on these things and knowing your experience and where you're coming from and how you are an expert on so many things that have to do with our national security in the global space, I see North Korea emboldened, wanting to expand their arsenals. I see terrorism seems to be on the rise. Russia, Ukraine, that conflict. And then there's always China. Like, all you have to do is say China. It's a whole bag of issues when it comes to being a threat to the United States. We have our southern border. And all of these things right now, I'm looking at this specific administration going, do they even see the same problems that I see through influence on your expertise? Does this administration understand the threats to the United States at this point in time?
No, I don't think they do, because I think they put two things first. One is I think they're very risk averse. And they're more afraid of getting criticized for something or being blamed for something than preventing something seriously, from happening against American people. And the other is they're too willing, because they're risk averse, and they think if we do nothing or very little, nothing bad will happen to us. They're much more apt to take the resources that we have for national security and defense and use those resources for political purposes because they don't think there'll be consequences for that. And I got to tell you, if you were in the Biden administration today, you don't believe there are going to be consequences for what I just said. You believe that you are the most successful president in modern history, that you've gotten more laws through than any other former president, that you've pushed the progressive agenda farther than it's ever been pushed, that you went through the midterms and paid no price for that. You believe that everything you're doing is just fine, and you are more likely to do more of that. You are the captain of the Titanic when the iceberg hit, thinking that you are still sailing to New York, and the good news is that you're ahead of schedule.
There's a lot at stake, Jim. I mean, it seems like these are not just talking points that are being discussed on our show on Tuesday. And what I fear is that there's going to be coming a Tuesday or an emergency request to you that comes through because something really consequential has happened.
Well, I go back and saying something I probably said on your show maybe 1,000 times because I'm that old and you've had this show that long and you're that incredibly successful at it. But, elections, when you vote for somebody as a president of the United States, you can tell yourself all you want. I'm not voting for national security. I'm not voting for foreign policy. I'm voting on taxes or healthcare or tweeting or the color of their hair or whatever. But you are voting for the commander-in-chief. You're voting for the chief statesman of this country. When you're voting for a member of Senate or House, and you can say, I'm not voting for that. But the reality is the people you're putting in charge at the national level, at the state level, at your local level, they have tremendous responsibility for your public safety. And you know what? And I'm glad we have a Second Amendment, and I'm glad we have guns, and I think that tremendously increases our personal safety. But the reason why we created government was because government was supposed to help us protect our hearth and home, not be the threat to our hearth and home. And the reason why the government is the problem is because of who we put there to run it. There is no form of government that is people-proof. I don't care how wonderful your Constitution is or how marvelous everything is. If you put yahoos in charge of your government, you will get a Yahoo government. I think that's actually in a textbook somewhere.
You should write the textbook, Jim Carafano. Thank you for being on with us. Happy New Year. I'm glad that we could relieve your excitement to be on the show that you've been waiting all year for. Happy to have you here, of course.
Yeah, and I'm no less honored than last year.
Maybe even more refined. I appreciate it. Bye-bye.
Thank you, my friend.
Mm-hmm. Vice President for Foreign and Security Policy at the Heritage Foundation, Jim Carafano. We are going to go straight to Jim Jordan, who, after McCarthy has failed the first ballot, they will have to go to a second ballot. Historically has not taken place in over 100 years. Jim Jordan has taken the podium to advocate for Republican unity. Let's hear what he has to say.
Nominate Kevin McCarthy for Speaker of the House.
The gentleman is recognized.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I think we have three objectives this Congress. Three fundamental things we have to get done in the 118th Congress. First, pass the bills that fix the problems. In 2 years' time, we have a border that is no longer a border. We have a military that can't meet its recruitment goals. We have bad energy policy, bad education policy, record spending, record inflation, record debt, and a government that has been weaponized against we the people, against the very people we represent. So we need to pass legislation to address all that. And I hope my Democrat colleagues will join me. I really do. But I have my doubts. And if they don't, and if Chuck Schumer says, no, we're not going to take up that legislation that we pass, and if Joe Biden won't sign it, so be it. They'll have to answer to the people in 2024. Second, we can never, ever let a bill like the one that passed 12 days ago, $1.7 trillion spent, we can never, ever let that kind of legislation pass again. We have to pass a budget that makes sense, that's good common sense, then do the 12 appropriation bills that recognize it's the people's money, not ours, and send it to the Senate, and then stand firm on that legislation. And again, if they won't take it up and Joe Biden won't sign it, we can stand firm on a CR or something. We can have that fight, but we are not going to have what took place a week and a half ago ever happen again. And then finally, third, and this is important, we got to do the oversight, do the investigations. We have to do the oversight and the investigations that need to be done. This idea that bureaucrats who never put their name on a ballot but think they run the country, who have assaulted our constituents' First Amendment liberties, they need to be held accountable. That has to happen. We need to do it. We need to do it in a way that's consistent with the Constitution, but we need to do it vigorously and aggressively. That is part of our duty as members of this body. To my friends here on this side of the aisle, I would just say this. The differences we may have, the differences between Joyce and Jordan or Biggs and Bacon, they pale in comparison to the differences between us and the left, which now unfortunately controls the other party. So we had better come together and fight for these key things, these three things. That's what the people want us to do. And I think Kevin McCarthy is the right guy to lead us. I really do, or I wouldn't be standing up here giving this speech. I came in with Kevin. We came in the same time 16 years ago. We haven't always agreed on everything, but I like his fight. I like his tenacity, and I like it. I remember Kevin told me, I actually wrote about this in a book. I remember Kevin told me, he said, when the toughest times in life are when you get knocked down, the question is, can you come back? And I've always seen him be able to do that. We need to rally around him, come together, and deal with these three things, because this is what the people sent us here to do. My favorite scripture verse is 2 Timothy 4:7. Paul's the old guy giving advice to the young guy, and he says, fight the good fight, finish the course, keep the faith. I like the verse because it's a verse of action. Fight, finish, keep. Not wimpy words, words that I think fit America. That's what the American people want us to do. They want us to fight for the things they care about and they elected us to do. And we should all remember, only about 12,000 people have ever had the opportunity to do what we're doing today, sit in this body, serve in this Congress. It is a privilege. It is an opportunity. We owe it to them, the American people, the good people of this great country, to step forward, to come together, get a speaker elected so we can address these three things. I hope you'll vote for Kevin McCarthy, and that's why I'm proud to nominate him for Speaker of the House.
There's Representative Jim Jordan speaking on the House after the first ballot failed to produce a majority, to seek the majority of votes in the House. We're going to take a quick break because when we come back, Matt Gaetz is going to be heard. What does he have to say? Is he also going to nominate Kevin McCarthy for the Speaker? I don't think so. That's probably not what's going to happen. But you'll have it right here on the Annie Frey Show when we come back. Don't go away. We'll be back in just a minute.
The Annie Frey Show is streaming online. Watch us live on YouTube and subscribe.
That was what you told me. I'm giving you up. I'm forgiving it all. You set me free. Send my love to your new life.
If you own a home in St. Louis and you want to sell it as is without any inspections or the need to make any repairs, call Chris Buys Homes, stlouis.com at 314-782-8000 and get your cash offer without any obligation, commissions, banks, or headaches. Chris buys vacant homes, inherited homes, fixer-uppers, beautiful homes, even the tenant who won't pay the rent apartment. Google us. Chris Buys Homes in St. Louis and check out our best reviews from satisfied customers. When you sell to Chris, you decide when you want to move, according to your schedule and your terms. Go to our website, chrisbuyshomes.stlouis.com, or call Chris at 314-782-8000. That's 314-782-8000, and get the offer you've been waiting for. 314-782-8000.
Are you looking for a new dentist in 2023? Well, I have the people for you. Foley Dental Group, FoleyDentalGroup.com is the website. They have a beautiful new facility at 159 and 270 in Maryville, Illinois. My husband just went after Christmas to get his teeth cleaned, to get a checkup, and he was talking about how beautiful the new facility was. We love Foley Dental in my family. We always feel comfortable there. We get the best in dental care, and they have a whole health approach. You're going to get information about how to improve your whole health when you go to see the people at Foley Dental Group. I want you to reach out to them at 618-288-9670. That's 618-288-9670 to schedule an appointment. They are taking new patients. Mention the Annie Frey Show when you call. You are going to love the care from the moment they pick up the phone all the way through finishing up your first dental checkup with Foley Dental Group. They're going to take care of you the proper way, the comfortable way, the respectful way. Doesn't matter how long it's been since you've been to the dentist. Foley Dental Group is there to care for you in any need that you might have. 618-288-9670, FoleyDentalGroup.com.
The Mark Reardon Show.
You're not prosecuting crimes. You're demonizing the police. There's absolutely a war on law enforcement. And these are the things that are contributing to the huge uptick in crime and the surge around the country.
Weekdays from 3 to 6 on 97.1 FM Talk.
As easy feeling either. Kevin McCarthy, on the other hand, sitting on the House floor with the second ballot for House Speaker. Moving through, we have 1 vote for other, 17 votes for McCarthy, 10 for Jeffries. The Democrats are voting for Jeffries for the most part, and the Republicans are voting for Kevin McCarthy, except for a few. The second other vote has come through. You got to have 218 votes to secure that speakership. So, let's listen in. We just heard from Jim Jordan, who spoke after the first ballot failed to produce a speaker. We heard Jim Jordan come on, who did receive a vote from one Lauren Boebert of Colorado. A lot of people support Jim Jordan for the speakership. Jim Jordan made it explicitly clear that he supports Kevin McCarthy. Well, we listened to Jim Jordan speak. What did Matt Gaetz have to say right there?
To nominate a candidate for Speaker of the House.
The gentleman is recognized.
Well, sometimes we have to do jobs that we don't really want to do. And sometimes we have to do jobs that we are called to do. And so, my colleagues, I rise to nominate the most talented, hardest working member of the Republican conference who just gave a speech with more vision than we have ever heard from the alternative. I'm nominating Jim Jordan. Jim Jordan is humble, perhaps today, humble to a fault. Maybe the right person for the job of Speaker of the House isn't someone who wants it so bad. Maybe the right person for the job of Speaker of the House isn't someone who has sold shares of themselves for more than a decade to get it. Maybe Jim Jordan is the right person for Speaker of the House because he is not beholden to the lobbyists and special interests who have corrupted this place and corrupted this nation under the leadership of both Republicans and Democrats. Maybe Jim Jordan would be the right person for Speaker of the House because he wouldn't fight us when we try to get a term limits bill on the floor. Maybe Jim Jordan would be the right person because he wouldn't fight us when we try to put a balanced budget on the floor and vote for it. And maybe Jim Jordan is the right person because he would endorse the plan that was built by the Texas delegation to finally secure our border. Mr. Jordan said in his nomination that there are certain bills that we have to pass to fix the problem. The challenge is the alternative has been someone voting for the very bills that have caused these problems. Mr. Jordan says that we cannot accept legislation like the omnibus, and I fully agree. And if Jim Jordan were Speaker of the House, if he were the leader of the Republican team, we wouldn't have that circumstance choking the economy of our country, increasing inflation, and diminishing the prospects of a better life for our fellow Americans. And finally, Mr. Jordan said we must engage in rigorous oversight. Every one of my Republican colleagues knows that the person who can lead that oversight effort, who works on it every day, who has the skill and the talent and the will, is Jim Jordan. I'm nominating him, and I'm voting for him.
Okay, Matt Gaetz from the floor. I mean, notwithstanding any commentary on Kevin McCarthy, or my personal thoughts and commentary on Matt Gaetz, he's not wrong. It was a pretty good speech, Brad. Listening to all of this going on, Brad, tell me where you are in this moment watching these speaker votes come through. Currently 30 McCarthy votes, 25 Jeffries, 4 for others. They're literally going through all the members one by one, calling out their names.
I don't understand why they just don't vote for McCarthy. I don't think McCarthy is the big bad guy that everybody thinks that he is. I don't think that Mike McCarthy.
Sorry.
You got me doing it. I don't think Kevin
did it first.
Fake news.
Subconsciously
said it off air.
Yeah.
No, I don't think he's the rhino that everybody makes him out to be. Yeah,
McCarthy.
Yeah, I think that he's more center than a Jim Jordan or a Matt Gaetz, but that's kind of the beauty of the Republican Party. There is a spectrum of different thoughts and ideas, and you need somebody that can bring them all together. This is showing that there's trouble in that, but, like Jim Jordan just said, I don't want to do this, and then Matt Gaetz gets up there and says, I want the guy that doesn't want to do it to do it. Well, that's not bringing people together either, and I'm not really sure what Gaetz's angle is on all of this.
Don't you? This is what I want to know, and I'm not even going to say I'm not one. I'm super conspiratorial when it comes to anything that comes out on the floor, that there has been a lot of pre-gaming going on before it got to that moment. So I'm listening to Matt Gaetz for the first time right here with you, speaking on the floor after the first vote fails, and I'm saying to myself, all right, what's he going to say? He's going to do something crazy and stupid. And I'm like, no, this is okay. I see you. I'm not here to advocate for or against Kevin McCarthy. I'm here to advocate for stopping the Democrats in their tracks.
Right.
Thank you, Republican majority. Even though it was smaller, I think that Kevin McCarthy would make a good speaker as far as I know. I understand the concerns that people have that the status quo is not good enough. I understand looking at the midterms and going, that performance was not sufficient. That should not have happened that way. Is it Kevin McCarthy's fault? I don't know that it is. That's where I'm like, I don't think you can throw this all on the doorstep of Kevin McCarthy. Because if you look at his time in leadership in the Republican Party in the House, the amount of seats that he has gained over that course of time has been impressive. And he did take the majority back. Okay, Annie, but it's not good enough. Well, I understand that. But what I'm saying is, I don't know that you can put it all on the doorstep of Kevin McCarthy. I think that the idea of money coming in and money being spent, that there are a lot of people coming together to make these decisions, and maybe part of it is Kevin McCarthy's responsibility. Maybe some of it isn't. Chad Pergram reports on Twitter that Republican reps Biggs and Bishop voted for Biggs the first time. Andy Biggs of Arizona, correct?
Yes.
They both voted for Jim Jordan the second time around. So we just continue to watch this. But it is exciting. But, man, this is nerd stuff. Go into your local grocery store and see who's paying attention to who. Did you guys see the Speaker of the House vote went to a second ballot? Which aisle are the frozen pizzas in? I mean, the majority of American people aren't paying attention to this. It is incredibly consequential. The future of the Republican Party. If Kevin McCarthy is told to sit down and if Jim Jordan gets this vote, I'd be a strong supporter of Jim Jordan. Sure. I would be a strong supporter of Steve Scalise's because he has gotten the he's like second in command now in the Republican House. I really like Steve Scalise. I think he'd be a very compelling leader considering the fact that he took a bullet for being a Republican on a baseball field because a crazy person from Belleville showed up and said, "Are these the Republicans?" and then opened fire on him. Steve Scalise was there and he was shot because he was a Republican. I think that gives him some due respect when it comes to being able to work with people, to know what the vision can do to a country, to a political party. I think Steve Scalise would be great. I think Jim Jordan would be great. I don't have any problem with Kevin McCarthy. But now we just sit and we watch and we wait.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm seeing comments saying that he's not willing to do what it takes to get things done. I don't know what that looks like. I mean, are you looking for a Nancy Pelosi but in a red jersey? Is that what you're looking for? Because the only reason Nancy Pelosi got the vote she wanted was because she was Nancy Pelosi.
She would do anything to get the job done.
Absolutely.
Yeah, kind of like that on our side. I would like that on our side. I would like somebody who could bring people together. But again, going back to what we discussed at the beginning of the show, you have to have somebody who's willing to be incredibly in touch with the soul of the Republican Party. And I don't know that we know what that is right now. I have big thoughts on the Trump thing for 2023. Big ones that developed late in the night on my vacation, and I think I'm pretty really spot on it. But I've been saying that Donald Trump isn't going to run. I was wrong about that. In theory, I knew that was a minority opinion, but I don't think he's going to be the nominee. Maybe I'll talk about that in the 2 o'clock hour and run it by you guys, because there's something brewing right now, politically, on the right side of the aisle, that I think is irreconcilable. And Trump's in the middle of it. And Americans and conservatives and moderates and hardcore Republicans are all going to have to be making a decision here soon. And I'll bring that up in the 2 o'clock hour. We can discuss it. All right, let's take a quick break. We're going to continue to follow the vote as it comes through here. The second
One thing, together millions of things for our planet. Now that we have started a new year, think about ways you can help the environment. First, make the switch to green soaps and personal products, and green cleaning products for the sink and shower. Use towels made from materials like organic cotton. And finally, make the switch to LED lights, which can last for many years and use very little power. When we each share our one thing, it becomes 100 things, 1,000 things, 1,000,000 things for our planet. What's your one thing?
So let's talk about Stewart's American Mortgage and how in this new year, if fiscal responsibility and getting your financial house in order is at the top of your resolution list, Stewie is a great place to start. 314-324-4440. That's 314-324-4440. Stewart's American Mortgage can hook you up with a bagel loan. What is a bagel loan? Well, when you go to refinance your mortgages, rates have come down a little bit from their recent highs. If you have high interest credit card debt, a lot of people are looking at the results of inflation combined with holiday shopping and going, ooh, that credit card debt. How am I going to get ahead of that? Consider the equity in your home and using the equity in your home to pay down that high interest credit card debt. When rates come down even more, you can refinance once again with the bagel loan, and you don't pay any fees that every other lender out there will charge you for. It's a smart way to get in good financial shape. And when you talk to Stewie with your particular situation, he's going to give you the best advice on how he can help you. And he's even told me about people who've come to him and he said, you know what? I don't think that what I have can help you. He's going to be honest with you, and that's why I appreciate and respect him. 314-324-4440. You can Google the bagel loan and MLS number 226715.
Everybody knows, you've got to get it at Clement. Shop new and used, get pre-approved. Find the car you're looking for when you log on. ClementAutoGroup.com.
You're listening to the Annie Frey Show live from the Air Comfort Service Heating, Cooling, and Insulation Studio. Air Comfort Service is celebrating 54 years of residential and commercial service, maintenance, and installation of heating and cooling systems. Get in your comfort zone. Visit aircomfortservice.com.
Big ideas, real debate, solid entertainment. You found it here.
St. Louis's home for conservative talk.
97.1 FM Talk.
I had a dream, we were sipping whiskey neat, highest floor of the Bowery, and I was high enough.
You're listening to The Annie Frey Show on St. Louis's home for conservative talk.
You were staying out all night, and I had enough. No, I don't wanna know where you've been.
Follow Annie on Twitter at Annie Frey Show.
Dark side of the morning. It is me.
Welcome back to the Andy Frey Show. Glad to have you here with us. Welcome back. Happy New Year. We are watching the second ballot of the House Speaker vote, and this is hard-hitting news, folks. The Fox News lower third says McCarthy appears to lose second Speaker vote. Well, is he or isn't he? I mean, it seems to me if it appears to be that he could still possibly win it, maybe just wait to put up, I don't know, I'm just talking out loud here. 71 votes for Kevin McCarthy, 72 votes for Jeffries, the Democrat leader, 9 votes for others. We've heard Jim Jordan, after the failed first vote, stood up and said, I endorse Kevin McCarthy. Then Matt Gaetz, who's been the leading voice on the Republican side against Kevin McCarthy, said, I endorse Jim Jordan. That's kind of a funny turnabout there. So they continue to go until they get a majority. 218 votes are needed. The Democrats don't have 218 votes on their side. So the only way that a Democrat is going to win this, people will see, well, Jeffries, it's 73 Jeffries, 73 McCarthy. Jeffries is going to come ahead. Well, he won the last one. Jeffries had the most votes, but not the majority of the votes. Does that make sense? In the total of the House, you have to have 218 votes. Unless a handful of Republicans cross over to vote for Jeffries specifically, a Democrat's not going to become the Speaker. This is where they can nominate anybody. Mm-hmm. Like, we could be sitting here and they could start nominating Ryan Wiggins. We could see that happen in real time. And Ryan would be sitting in his office there with the carpet people and the painters or whatever, and he'd be writing a promo for the Mark Cox Morning Show, and he could become the Speaker of the House. Right?
Lord help us.
That should have been today's poll. Kevin McCarthy or Ryan Wiggins? Because I think that the people who hate Kevin McCarthy would be happy if it was Ryan Wiggins. Because people are saying it's a never McCarthy, right?
Yeah.
Isn't going back to the Joker and one of the best movies ever, it's about sending a message. Mm-hmm. We need a better class of criminal. Isn't that what Heath Ledger says?
Yeah.
Would you agree, Brad, that the Republican Party needs a total shakeup? Or do you think that the extent of Kevin McCarthy being the worst thing ever? McConnell, again, sworn he's the longest tenured leader of the Republican Party in the Senate. Ronna McDaniel, the Mick Republicans, as they're referring to them. Is this a problem? Total shakeup needed?
I think a shakeup is needed. But unfortunately, I think the shakeup is needed in the Senate, and it's also needed at the top of the RNC. And, because when you look back at what happened in 2022 at the midterm elections, what it should have been versus what it ended up being, I think that there are, a lot of people who are disgruntled and frustrated with it. But the other side of that is, too, I don't know which side of you said that this is a battle for the soul of the Republican Party. We need somebody that will represent that. And the question is what is that right now? Because there is a lot of separation and different thoughts and different ideas about what a Republican is, about what a rhino is, about what this is, about what that is. Like, if you're going to call somebody a rhino, you have to have a pretty good idea of what a Republican is. But then when you look at some of the people that call people rhinos, it's like, well, what you're espousing?
Dan Crenshaw just called Matt Gaetz and those 5 rhinos.
Right. Because what you're espousing, you've got to look at what you're espousing is that traditional Republican values,
And who says what that is? In 2023.
In 2023, all you can do is look at history. That's what you have to go off of. What did it mean to be a Republican, in 2016? What did it mean to be a Republican in 2015? What did it mean to be a Republican, and so on and so forth? They don't have that. And like you said, Dan Crenshaw just called Gaetz and the lot Republicans in name only because they're just harming the Republican cause at this point, or the party's cause, I should say, not necessarily the soul.
I'm not laughing at you, but I haven't done this in 11 days. Mm-hmm. Are we in the second segment or the third?
We're in the third segment.
We are?
I was confused too.
So we're taking this all the way to the end.
We're going to take this to the end.
Man, I've been playing video games, Mario Party people. I mean, if you know, you know. I have been hanging out with kids. We've been staying up really late and sleeping in, so I'm out of practice. But I'll get back. It's actually kind of more fun this way. I want to stay like this more than I want to get into the slog of just knowing I could do this like clockwork. And I'll be back to that in about 2 weeks. So enjoy these 2 weeks when I have to ask which segment we're in. While I talk cue up Chad Pergram reporting right now on Fox News because I'd like to hear what he has to say. He just tweeted out the speaker vote will go to a third vote, even though we are early in the second vote. 8 votes already for Jordan. This is the world's biggest staring contest. Listening to how this could go versus how it might end up, this might not be for the people who are not paying attention to politics right now because they're in the real world and they are doing real jobs that matter in real time. I'm thinking to myself, like, what's the headline? This is going to resolve itself at some point. What is the headline that comes out of this? Because if you're not watching, if you're not spending time in investing in what is going on in this moment right now, this is going to turn into a headline. And Brad, you and I know what it's like the Twitter files to some extent. Some of those have had to turn into headlines for us because you can't always stop what you're doing and invest in the real time level of what is taking place. What's the headline going to be? Or this could draw out for a long time. Chad Pergram is covering this for Fox News. Let's listen to what the Capitol Hill reporter has to say.
What I can tell you, even though they're only about a quarter of the way into this second roll call vote for Speaker, is that we're going to have a third roll call vote for Speaker. Why? It's about the math. Because already we have had 10 members cast ballots for Jim Jordan by name on the floor. Kevin McCarthy can only lose 4 and succeed. And so right now, the tally is that Kevin McCarthy and Hakeem Jeffries are neck and neck. Jeffries is slightly behind McCarthy right now, but that's just a virtue of the alphabet, depending on where people's names fall in the alphabet, where a Democrat is or where a Republican is. But what this means is when we get done here, we're going to have probably a carbon copy of what we saw just a few minutes ago. They will take about 10 or 15 minutes. There'll be this stasis where they tally up the votes to make sure that the teller clerks all have the same tallies. They will announce that. And then will they go to another round, a third round here? Again, by rule, this is how it's supposed to happen. Now, I wonder how many times they are going to do this in a row before somebody calls for a recess. That could be the magic thing here to get all the Democrats in one room. Democrats don't have to do much here. Republicans, they had a very intense conference meeting this morning. I can guarantee you that another conference meeting after all this is going to be, 10 times more intense. But we don't know. That could happen. Could we have other nominations? Again, how many votes is Kevin McCarthy and his allies willing to go through? We have been told for a while now that this might take days. We might literally be in day after day after day of vote through, Thursday or Friday until they wear them down. Again, this is uncharted territory in the House of Representatives. But I would expect, and we know this early on here, because there's already been so many votes against McCarthy by name, for Jim Jordan. Nothing has seemed to move the meter here yet for a while. For McCarthy, you mentioned the Jordan speech, the Gates speech. Nothing seems to have changed things. I will note here, though, that you had a couple of members who changed their votes, who supported Andy Biggs earlier. Andy Biggs himself, who was not nominated for this cycle, and also Dan Bishop, a Republican, he changed his vote as well. He did not support Andy Biggs in that round. He voted for Jim Jordan as well. So again, we could have other permutations of this as we get deeper into the afternoon. And there used to be a saying about the Senate that the Senate only has 2 rules, unanimous consent and exhaustion. At some point, we'll see how many votes, how many consecutive votes they are willing to go through before everybody is exhausted. Let me flag 2 other little pieces of color here, which are interesting. Walking through the halls of Congress today, I've seen everybody bring in their grandmother, their college best friend, their roommate. Everybody came in to see their friend, their cousin, whomever, get sworn in to Congress. And as we've gone through this today, they're not going to see that because they can't swear in any members. So you have a room here just off the House floor, the Rayburn room, named after Sam Rayburn, Speaker of the House in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, who never had a problem becoming Speaker, set up for the ceremonial photo op. This is where each new member comes in with their family, and they stand next to the Speaker, and they hold up their hand, and they reenact the swearing in that they do on the House floor. That is all set up to happen. It's probably not going to happen today, and at this rate, it might be several days from now until they can work this out. So, you have all these people in the Capitol here to see their member get sworn in and take photographs with the Speaker. You don't have a Speaker, thus no photo op.
Chad, at this point in the game, we don't know if he's going to pick up
votes in this second round here or lose them. That is unclear at this moment. So we're watching all of it live on Capitol Hill. Chad, we'll get back to you shortly.
So there's Chad Pergram, who is there reporting live in this instance on these votes as they continue to happen. They will go to a third vote now, and we'll see what happens in between. I think that's where the most interesting content is going to come from, and we're going to be on it through the rest of the show. What are these people saying on the floor in between these votes? And it's interesting to hear Chad Pergram say, like, how long is it going to take to wear these people down? Boy, it's your first act as a congressman-elect to be like, I'm tired of this. I'll just vote for the other guy. Like, if you have to have a persuadable reason to change your thought process on why you would have pushed this to a third vote or a fourth or a fifth or a sixth. Where will this continue to go? We don't know, but we're going to continue to cover it right here on the Annie Frey Show. Did you have any major, like, Brad, you've unplugged a little bit because you had some days off in here?
Yeah.
Do you think more or less about, like, these types of things when you are off?
I can't always turn it off. Like, I wish I could. I wish I could just turn it off and unplug. So the way that I think less about it is by engaging with my wife and spending time with her and doing stuff that she likes. And so that gets me away from, scrolling my phone or whatever, because the vast majority of my timeline on Twitter is, politics and stuff like that, these things. So, yeah, I back off, but I would say instead of going like, what I usually go at, I'm probably going about 85% of what I usually go.
I have to kind of stay off of Twitter just in total. It becomes, because I'm interested in it. I was kind of talking about this at New Year's with some of my friends, but it's like it's a hobby for me. I wouldn't be able to do this if I didn't have a great interest in studying it, in learning about it, in knowing about it. So there's this point from the time I'm off until about halfway through, maybe 2/3, where I'm like, but I really want to know. And then I have to tell myself, it's okay to inform yourself, but you have to make sure you keep it where it belongs, which is I'm home with my family. I'm spending time with my husband and my kids and my extended family that's in town. Like, make sure the priorities are in order, but it's okay to be informed. And so then I start to dive into it. And then those diving into it turns into late night, like, I got to read more. It's almost an addiction. But the more you find out about what's taking place in the news, it can uplift you and it can motivate you, and then it can also bring you down. We are covering it all here on the Annie Frey Show, as we always do. We are here for you. We are bringing you the live updates of the speaker vote. It's going to go to a third vote, as McCarthy has not been able to secure the speakership yet. You're in the right place. We'll continue to cover this live when we come back. Don't go away.
Are you the parent of a 2 to 7-year-old? Listen closely for an exciting free radio offer. By now, you've probably heard of ABC Mouse, the Parents' Choice Award-winning online learning program that's actually changing the lives of early learners everywhere.
ABC Mouse is like a little one-on-one teacher. It has helped her so much.
Right now, we're offering a special radio promo to try it free for a month. But you have to go to abcmouse.com/radio to claim your free month. That's abcmouse.com/radio.
Sponsored by Age of Learning.
When you're an innovative business, every blinking cursor, every blank page is an opportunity. What will you do with it? Will you make something better or create something new? Our Dell Technologies advisors provide you with tools and expertise to do incredible things. Because we believe there's an innovator in all of us. For advice on smart PCs powered by Intel V Pro that's built for business, call a Dell Technologies advisor at 877-ASK-DELL.
Man, the Closet Factory can come in and give you the decluttering experience that you've been longing for. You can certainly go into your home and get rid of things. Last night, one of my last acts of vacation was to go into my closet with a box that I had gotten from some Christmas haul that I had gotten gifts from other people. The box was sitting there, and I just went into my closet, and I just started pulling things out. And I filled the box with clothes to purge and said to he goes, do you want me to donate that tomorrow? I said, get rid of it before I go through it again. Get it out of the house. And so hopefully he's doing that today. when you get rid of things, and if you realize you got stuff sitting around your house, you still need to have a place for everything. The Closet Factory are the best when it comes to giving you a place for everything, so everything can be in its place. Reach out to them at 314-961-4300 and get your project started today. Your closets, your pantry, your laundry space. The Closet Factory has a solution for you. Go to closetfactory.com.
You had a solid retirement dream. Sell your home in a few years, bank the equity, downsize, and travel. But inflation and recession has you wondering if all your hard-earned equity will still be there. What if you could recession-proof your equity right now? You can with TrueHold. TrueHold will buy your home for its best current value before a recession can erode it. You get to bank all the cash now and live in your home for as long as you want. And TrueHold covers all property taxes, insurance, repairs, and maintenance. And since TrueHold pays your home's current value in cash now, it's yours to do whatever you'd like. Don't wait for inflation, recession, and interest rates to erode your home's value. Visit TrueHold.com and discover how much TrueHold will buy your home for today. Based on its best current value, not what's coming. Call 1-855-300-9993 or visit TrueHold.com. The smarter, faster way to cash out on your home's value without having to move. That's TrueHold.com.
KFTK FM Florissant. From the Under Law Injury Lawyers, GetJim.com studio. 97.1 FM Talk. Always live on the free Odyssey app.
A rare day on Capitol Hill. Lisa Brady, Fox News. This hasn't happened in a century in the U.S. House.
No persons having received a majority of the whole number of votes cast by surname. A speaker has not been elected.
The House Republican leader falling short on the first ballot in the vote for Speaker, and a short time later,
I rise to nominate Kevin McCarthy for Speaker of the House.
Ohio's Jim Jordan nominating Kevin McCarthy again, urging the GOP to unite and focus on key priorities, including passing bills that fix problems. On his list, border security, spending and debt, energy policy, and education.
And I think Kevin McCarthy is the right guy to lead us. I really do, or I wouldn't be standing up here giving this speech.
Jordan, who got a handful of Republican votes himself on the first ballot, was then nominated by Florida's Matt Gaetz, one of the conservatives pressing McCarthy to agree to make changes in the House. In the Senate,
today I have the great honor of becoming the longest-serving senator from New York, the first New Yorker ever elected to the Senate 5 times.
Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer also congratulating Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, who's now the longest-serving party leader in Senate history.
The greatest honor of my career is representing the Commonwealth of Kentucky in this chamber and fighting for my fellow Kentuckians.
McConnell will be in his home state tomorrow with President Biden for an event highlighting infrastructure work. This as the White House kicks off the new year by emphasizing bipartisan achievements. NFL player Damar Hamlin remains in critical condition after suffering cardiac arrest during Monday Night Football. The NFL has not made a final decision on the fate of that suspended game between the Bills and the Bengals, but says it will not resume this week and that no changes are being made to the schedule for the 18th week of the regular season. America is listening to Fox News.
It's Jesse Kelly. Why do you think so many countries have huge gold reserves? Gold lasts. The value of gold lasts. How many times have I told you, buy things you can touch and feel because you know the value lasts? There's nothing like precious metals, nothing out there like it. I buy all my gold from Oxford Gold Group. 833-974-1300. They'll deliver it to your front door. Oxford Gold Group.
Some people got COVID and thought, well, that wasn't such a big deal. But you can get COVID again, and next time it could be worse, especially for those 50 and older, or with a chronic condition like heart disease or diabetes. But with an updated vaccine, you have better protection from COVID's worst outcomes. And that's a big deal. Find updated COVID vaccines near you at vaccines.gov. We can do this. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation, weather.
A few more hours of warmth across St. Louis with the southwest flow, partly to mostly sunny skies, windy, 68 today, the record 68 from 1939. Going to be really, really close. Tonight, more and more clouds, winds turn to the northwest, turning colder, 35. Wednesday, partly sunny, windy, and chilly, but nothing extreme, 45 and 38 for the high Thursday. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Damar.
Congress has authorized trillions in new spending, along with doubling the size of the IRS agency in just the last few months. Do you think that is by accident? No, it is with a purpose, to go after small businesses, employees, and individuals who have not filed or paid their taxes. If this is you, don't panic, just call. Hi, this is Lance Drury with the Lance Drury Law Firm in St. Louis. Interest and penalties on your tax bill won't stop until you take control. Call me, Lance Drury. I'll tell you in advance an affordable fee, which includes costs and expenses that works for your business and family. Your first visit to the Lance Drury Law Firm is free and confidential, so you have nothing to lose. Call me today. Remember, if you have IRS issues, you have legal issues. You need an attorney. You need us, the Lance Drury Law Firm. Call me, Lance Drury, at 314-260-6120. Or go to Lance, DRURY law.com.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements.
MySlim180.com, the website that you can visit to learn about how you can effectively lose weight and achieve those goals that you have for yourself getting healthy this year. Losing weight is not about a number, and I cannot stress that enough. I don't know who it was. I was listening to somebody, I think it was, I don't know, maybe it was an ad for something else. And they were talking about, I got back down to my high school weight. I mean, what kind of goal is it to get back to your high school weight? That's not realistic. But getting to a healthy weight, that is a motivation that many people in my life right now have. MySlim180.com is a website that can help you get to that point. You can focus on being a healthier version of you, and you can have success by having a guided plan, a nutritionally guided plan by the amazing counselors at Slim 180. You can use the HCG programs that they have to drop weight, and it comes off quickly, and it gets you to that goal that you have in mind for yourself to have that healthier version of you. If you are thinking about losing weight right now, grab a friend, grab a partner, go to Slim 180 and get the process started. MySlim180.com.
Brought to you by General Steel. If you're a business owner, renting or leasing, you can save a ton of money and own a custom-designed building made by General Steel. Just call 888-74-STEEL and get a quote today.
Selling your home? Every situation is unique. Find the best options that are right for you from the real estate team who offer more options. My friends Mark and Neil Gelman of eXp Realty. Check out the only agents I trust. Go to thegelmanteam.com. That's thegelmanteam.com.
Fact-checking the mainstream media daily.
St. Louis's home for conservative talk.
You found it here. 97.1 FM Talk.
That is exactly what I needed to hear.
Thank God someone here knows what they're talking about.
That's us. That's right. Gotta love this American ride.
All right, you need to take the time and get the full picture.
Don't get me wrong, I love the ladies. I mean, they rev my engine, but they don't belong in the newsroom. It is Anchor Man, not Anchor Lady.
What do you want from me? I'm not America's sweetheart.
Goodness sake, kid. Keep your voice down. Your father's listening to the radio.
I'm not America's sweetheart.
This is the Annie Frey Show.
Welcome back to the Annie Frey Show. We're watching as the House is electing a new speaker. Who's it going to be? Well, they don't know yet because they're going to a third ballot. Kevin McCarthy is not sealed. He's not been able to seal the 218 vote majority to become the speaker. He has gotten a lot of votes, but not 218. Hakeem Jeffries is the leader of the Democrats now, which is the minority. He is getting the most votes for Democrats, but there is dissension in the ranks, and we are waiting to see how they are going to get to the point of electing a speaker. And they can't do any other business until that speaker is elected. We're going to continue to follow that. They're still going through their second vote, I believe, wrapping it up as a formality because he's already lost the votes he needs in order to secure. Kevin McCarthy has lost those votes he needs to secure that majority in the second ballot. So it'll go to a third. And if it doesn't get a majority there, guess what? It goes to a fourth. You know the drill. We're going to touch back on this here in a minute when more news takes place. But I also wanted to address a major story that I watched unfold last night, and it was very difficult to watch. Many of you did see this, and Damar Hamlin of the Buffalo Bills took a hit last night. A textbook, it seemed like, very routine tackle that he was making, and he took a hit from the guy who was carrying the ball, T. Higgins, and he stood up after the hit, and then he fell over and went into cardiac arrest. And I'm going to play you a clip here. This is a CNN report on the issue and give you an update.
Let me read you a statement just put out by the Buffalo Bills. That is Damar Hamlin's team. The Bills say Damar Hamlin suffered a cardiac arrest following a hit in our game versus the Bengals. His heartbeat was restored on the field, and he was transferred to the UC Medical Center for further testing and treatment. He is currently sedated and listed in critical condition. This is the first time we have received official word of what happened, a cardiac arrest, and it's absolutely the first time we have been told that his heartbeat was restored on the field. That is a bit of I imagine, good news. They got his heart beating again on the field before he was transferred to the University of Cincinnati Medical Center, where he has now been sedated and listed in critical condition.
So it was a very scary thing to see for the people who were watching it. I was watching Fox News just to kind of get a precursor to coming back to work today. And Jason Chaffetz was covering for Sean Hannity last night. And it was, as a broadcaster, I'm thinking, okay, Jason Chaffetz is in here. He's covering for Sean Hannity. And all of a sudden he's having to do breaking news. That's a difficult thing to do. And Jason Chaffetz did a very good job at it. But there are some things that have developed outside of this event. And I think from if you step back and you look at it from a human element, there are a lot of things that expose themselves in the last 24 hours. And I want to highlight a few of them. The first one is the jumping to conclusions as to what caused this man's cardiac arrest, his passing out, the instance. There are a lot of people. It was funny in a terribly not comedic kind of way. Ironic is the better word for it. To be taking in on the news, watching medical experts weigh in on what they're seeing. These are medical experts weighing in on what they're seeing through their television screen without knowing anything about Damar Hamlin, nothing about his personal health, nothing about, pre-existing conditions that he might have that may have led him to experience this. Nothing about the understanding of his vaccination status, because we do know that there are people in the NFL who are not. Aaron Rodgers. People don't know nothing about anything, but there are a lot of opinions being espoused on both sides of the issue. There's nothing that chafes me more than watching the most basic human existence, life and death, to watch this event play out in front of the world, because it's nationally / globally televised for people who want to watch it and have access to Monday Night Football. To see something like that happen and then to take a moment to either say, there's another one, or to go after the people who are saying, accusing, taking this issue away from Damar Hamlin and making it about something else. Regardless of what the truth is. I mean, the truth doesn't even matter on social media because it's instant. Because the conversation happens so quickly that you can say whatever in the moment in time that you want to say it, and you can be heard by however many people follow you or however amplified your tweets are, and you can say, this is absolutely another example. And then you have other people coming out and saying, criticizing those people who are, suggesting that somehow or another this is about the vaccines or whatever, and saying it's absolutely not. It's this other thing. The truth is that none of anybody knows. Nobody knows. But since we have a platform where these discussions can take place, the interesting human cultural thing that I see evolving is the fact that everybody has to weigh in. Everybody has to be heard. And it doesn't matter if you have 32 followers or 3.2 million followers. People feel the need to be heard. Here's another thing that took place last night. Skip Bayless tweeted out this, and this was at 8:30 p.m. So this is like while this event was going on. This is the entirety of what he said. No doubt the NFL is considering postponing the rest of this game, but how? This late in the season, a game of this magnitude is crucial to the regular season outcome, which suddenly seems so irrelevant. His initial tweet indicates that the really ridiculous maneuvering that the NFL is going to have to do to fit. Was that a playoff game? That was.
No, it was a regular season game.
But it's determinant to.
It was an important one.
Yes. So it matters. The game matters. It's not like you can just, in baseball, for instance, you have 162 games. You have 3 or 4 rainouts during the season. At the end of the season, if you haven't been able to make up a rainout and the game is inconsequential, it just doesn't get played. This game is going to have to get played. Skip Bayless is a sports commentator. He tweeted out something that was going to say that this is going to be a logistical nightmare for the NFL. But that doesn't really matter right now. That was in his initial tweet. And the world rained down on Skip Bayless. 2 things there. Does Skip Bayless need to make the tweet in that moment? Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. His job is to be a sports commentator. But in the Twitter world, where it's moving so quickly, people read the first half of his tweet. They didn't even read through the end of it. And they crucified him over it. Was Skip right to make that tweet? I don't know. Does he regret that tweet? He's clarified it. He's come out and said, listen, the content of what I said here was this. I understand that people didn't read it that way, and I apologize for that. But my point was that as insane, the amount of money that is wrapped up in the decision as to when this game is going to get played is massive, and it doesn't matter right now. Is it important today, while Damar Hamlin is still in a hospital bed in critical condition, for us to reconcile where we need to be on Skip Bayless? It is not. It's just it's outrage central. It's a manufactured commodity now to be outraged by everything. And I don't understand how that's a sustainable way of life for anybody. To have to, does Skip Bayless have to weigh in on this issue? I think you could make an argument that professionally he has a voice in this instance to be heard. You absolutely have the right to like what he says, to not like what he says, to respond back. I'm not pushing back on any of that. But default reaction is rage. Default reaction is judgment. We have no compassion, and Twitter is the epicenter of it. I'm on Twitter. I see it. I try not to espouse my tweets in that way. I'm not always perfect at that. I admit that. But it is an indication of how we are culturally right now, which is that we are all at our lofty, perched high places, looking down on everyone else, waiting to declare where we are on every particular instance for the masses to hear. But if everybody is perched up on their own little high horses and everybody is shouting judgment at everyone else, is anybody really listening? And everybody is always on the end of everybody else's judgment. It's not productive. It's self-serving. What I will tell you about the Damar Hamlin tragedy that took place last night, knowing that he is still in the hospital in critical condition, the news that I took in this morning at about 11 o'clock our time from some medical experts that were on Fox, again, these people don't know his personal health circumstance. These people are in the NFL. You would assume that they're incredibly healthy. That doesn't mean that they don't have conditions. That doesn't mean that they don't have conditions that they even don't know about, that they will discover later on that maybe they have had. That he's intubated, that after, I think they said they did CPR on him for between 9 and 12 minutes, that the question of how much swelling has taken place in his body in that amount of time. You intubate him, you give your body the opportunity to naturally relax from that trauma and to kind of work on healing itself without having the patient be awakened and, of course, anxiety and panic-ridden. Really interesting to me that in the midst of a tragedy that was unfolding in front of everybody and anybody, that there was a unified reaction to that. The people in the field, they kneeled down. While the ambulance was driving off of the field, they prayed. Tweet after tweet after tweet. Prayers, 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 prayers. Not even thoughts and prayers. Just prayers for Damar Hamlin. I don't understand that why in the midst of any other tragedy we wouldn't have the same reaction. And why in this instance, the idea of prayers, which was exactly, in my opinion, the right reaction, was to fall to your knees and ask for a higher power to do something about it, because clearly that power does not reside in your hands. I prayed for Damar Hamlin last night. My kids did too. We were watching this. I had to turn it off because I think it was starting to get to my kids. But it was important for me and for my kids to see. I wanted them to see these people go to their knees and pray, with opponents on the other side of the field. Going back to what Skip Bayless tweeted, which is a highly criticized tweet right now. At the end, he said, which suddenly seems so irrelevant, all of the business, all of the muck, you think about the mentality of a football player, and one guy's got the ball. The other guy's job is to blow him up and knock him over. Hopefully knock the ball out of his hands before he hits the ground. This is the mentality of this football game. In an instant, that all seems so irrelevant. And in the wake of an enormous tragedy that we don't have a conclusion to yet, and you can pray right now for Damar Hamlin's complete and total full recovery. That's not too much to ask. It brought people together in prayer. The start of the show, his GoFundMe for a 2020 Christmas toy drive that was asking for $2,500, as I read it, had over $4 million donated to it from people who came together and wanted to do something good. The secondary tragedy here, secondary to Damar Hamlin's injury that we pray he recovers fully from, the secondary tragedy here is that it takes a tragedy for all of this good to happen. I received a message on the Annie Frey Show Facebook page from a Michael. He's not listening anymore because he told me he wasn't going to listen anymore, so I feel okay sharing this. He's never messaged the show before. There's some people who message me with regularity. This guy's never messaged a show before. This is his message to me. Please leave your hypocritical religious beliefs off air. There is no irrefutable proof of a higher power existence except in your head. Period. Michael, that's why it's called faith. And I have it. It's who I am. And going back to the beginning of the show, where I talked about having a foundational purpose that is greater than the red shirt winning on Capitol Hill today, or Kevin McCarthy's success, or Jim Jordan's success, or Matt Gaetz' success, or the Democrats' success. All of that for me and for my house has to have a higher purpose than a Republican point at the end of the day. And if I have not made this explicitly clear, and I almost overemphasize this every time I talk about my faith, it is mine. It is not yours. I hope to share it with you, but I have many people in my life who have a different faith that I would never take away from them. But if you don't know who I am and where I'm coming from, and if it's not explicitly clear on this show, the foundations that I am rooted in, let me make it explicitly clear now. I will never stop talking about my faith because it's who I am. Let me put it to you this way. It's a lifestyle choice. And in the name of diversity, let's start accepting people who have lifestyles that may be different than yours. I don't espouse that you have to have the same lifestyle that I do, but you will not take mine away from me. I understand that it's not for everybody. There are many different kinds of lifestyle choices that people live that are not for me. But I don't get to choose how other people live. I don't get to choose what other people believe in. And of course, irrefutable proof that God exists, I look around the world and I see it every day. I see it in the eyes of my own kids. That's proof to me. I know that's not going to sell you, but that's a faith that's been put in my heart. Believing and not seeing, I get it. The whole thing. I'm not going to sell you on this today. But again, you're not listening to this show right now either, because you told me in a follow-up message. The next message says, it's not the 700 Club, and I'm done. You're correct. It isn't. It's the Annie Frey Show, and that part of it isn't going to change. We'll be right back.
Any promises now can we be? But you can make me dream.
You're listening to The Annie Frey Show. Interact with Annie on Facebook. The Annie Frey Show.
Dark jeans and your Nikes, look at you. Oh, damn, never seen that color blue. Just think of the fun things we could do. 'Cause I like it. Listen for the
Are boomers more cringy than millennials? Is Gen Z more woke than Gen X? Is there any hope of bridging our generational divides? Odyssey's new podcast, It's Generational, brings together actual people from these 4 generations for real conversations about today's issues. I'm Lauren Barry, and I'm inviting you to join our mission to dump stereotypes in the trash and really understand each other.
I think these conversations just foretell such a better, richer emotional vocabulary for talking about these things.
Listen on the Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Laura Michael Insurance, if you are thinking about saving money, that's what my husband and I did. We decided, let's look at our insurance. Are we paying what we need to be paying? Of course, we need to make sure we have the coverage we need, but are we paying too much? What had happened in my family is we had insurance through, I think it was somebody who maybe knew somebody in our family. They sold the business. I think we were like 3 or 4 people removed from the original partnership that we had with our insurance. And we just kept going along with the flow. Well, listen, the person was not advocating for what was best for us. I don't think that they were advocating for what was worse for us, but they weren't advocating for us. We went to Laura Michael Insurance, and guess what? We're going to save money using her. She's in St. Charles, 25 years in the business. Auto insurance, home insurance, life insurance, commercial insurance. She can help manage risk for families and business owners. That means you. So if you're looking at your insurance, or if you were like we were and you hadn't looked at it in a really long time, reach out to Laura Michael Insurance and see how she can help you. This is what she does professionally. She's going to keep it personalized to you to make sure you are not overinsured, but that you are covered exactly how you should be. You can visit her at lauramichaelinsurance.com.
Reel in the big one at the best fishing expo in the Midwest. The Let's Go Fishing Show on January 6th through 8th at Gateway Convention Center in Collinsville. Visit vendors with the latest fishing boats, rods, reels, tackle, accessories, resorts, and guided services. Shop unique, one-of-a-kind items and top-of-the-line marine electronics at discount prices. Attend free seminars. Meet pro anglers Bassmaster Elite Series Pro Brandon Palaniuk and many more. Free fishing pond. Visit letsgoshows.com for coupons and more info.
Everybody knows, you've got to get it at Clement.
You pay what we pay? What does that mean, Dad?
It means customers get their new Ford at the price we paid for it.
Oh, how do we make money then?
Our customers are customers for life. That means they'll service with us, hopefully buy the next car from us, and even tell their friends.
Got it. Sounds like common sense.
Visit ClementFord.com.
ClementAutoGroup.com.
If you own a home in St. Louis and you want to sell it as is, without any inspections or the need to make any repairs, call Chris Buys Homes, stlouis.com at 314-782-8000 and get your cash offer without any obligation, commissions, banks, or headaches. Chris buys vacant homes, inherited homes, fixer-uppers, beautiful homes, even the tenant who won't pay the rent apartment. Google us. Chris Buys Homes in St. Louis, and check out our best reviews from satisfied customers. When you sell to Chris, you decide when you want to move, according to your schedule and your terms. Go to our website, chrisbuyshomes.stlouis.com, or call Chris at 314-782-8000. That's 314-782-8000, and get the offer you've been waiting for. 314-782-8000.
4 distinct seasons, sometimes within a single day. Dave Murray's got you covered with Air Comfort Service heating and cooling weather. Every day on 97.1 FM Talk. This is the Annie Frey Show.
Welcome back to the Annie Frey Show. Kevin McCarthy still isn't the Speaker of the House. Who will be? We don't know. We are waiting to find out. They're going to go to a third ballot, and we'll have to watch and wait and see. Lots of questions for Republicans in 2023 that they are going to have to address. And leadership is definitely one of those things. But also at the epicenter of this, we're going to have a pretty good idea who the nominee is going to be by the end of this year, don't you think, Brad?
I think so.
Do you think do we already know?
The front runner?
Do we already know?
I still think it's Ron DeSantis.
You do?
Yeah.
He hasn't declared.
Nope. But I think he's the front runner.
I heard it at his election night. I read this on Twitter over the break that on election night the crowd was there cheering for him, chanting 2 more years, which is funny. So the question is, will Donald Trump be the nominee for the Republican Party? Ryan, you think that he's got it on lock? Is it going to be him?
Yeah, I do, simply because I still don't think that DeSantis is going to run. If he does run, it's going to be tough. It's going to be a real fight. Trump may still win that fight, but it will be a fight. I just don't think DeSantis is going to run, so I think by default, Trump's got it.
You think that DeSantis is the only possible other person who would run?
No, I think there are other people that will run. Mike Pompeo, Glenn Youngkin, Mike Pence, a couple other names maybe in there. But I don't think any of them is going to coalesce enough to get over the Trump factor.
I don't think Mike Pence and Mike Pompeo both run.
Mm-mm.
No, one of them?
It's the same people.
Well, that's what I mean. Especially if more of those people get in, all of them are the Trump alternative. So the more Trump alternative people you have, the more that's going to fracture it. So if you only have one, and that may be DeSantis, there's a better chance of knocking Trump off.
Republicans are, again, I've said this multiple times, and this is not generally the way I do the show, which is why I'm making the distinction. But the conversation I'm having right now is for Republicans, people who identify as Republicans. Because if you're a Democrat, I am assuming I know how you feel about Donald Trump, and your opinion on Donald Trump has no bearing whatsoever on who the Republican nominee is. You get to have an opinion in the general, but the nominee for the party is to be decided by Republicans or Democrats who want to pull a Republican ballot, and then you're dabbling in a way that politicos may do. But you can't be a Republican and not have an opinion on Trump, right?
Right. There's no doubt. He is the ultimate opinion maker. If people that don't even have an opinion on Trump.
Brad, is there anybody who right now is persuadable on whether they'd vote for Donald Trump for the primary?
I'm sure there's got to be at least one.
Looking out the window to see if I can.
I don't know who that is.
We're talking about Republicans.
Do you feel like there's anybody right now who is on the fence about any of the candidates that we've already listed? I don't know if I'm going to be Trump or if I'm going to be DeSantis, or I don't know if I'm going to be Trump or Pence or Pompeo or Nikki Haley or Kristi Noem, or keep going with any other Republican that's walking the face of the earth.
Right now, during the primary, we're specifically talking about the primary. No, I think people have made up their minds. They're either going to be voting for Trump or they're going to be voting for whoever is the other person, the other nominee.
They've made up their minds.
Mm-hmm. Now, there are people that would prefer DeSantis, but then not, say, a Mike Pence, so they would go back to Trump or something like that. But I think for the most part, people are in their camps, and as candidates get whittled away, then they'll fall one way or the other.
Do you think, Brad, that there are people at this point in time who are on the fence about not the vaccine in and of itself, but the government role in COVID vaccinations and the danger and the damage that rushing this vaccine through may have potentially had on people?
I think there's less than 1% of people that are on the fence about that. I think people have fallen into their camp and have decided either this or that.
Ryan, do you think there's anybody who's out there who's like, I don't know, let's wait and see? At this point, do you believe, yes or no, that people have landed on a side of the fence regarding the government role in vaccines?
No, I think there are a lot of people who have not. I very much disagree with Brad on this.
I don't understand what you just said. So.
I think that there are a lot of people who are still up in the air about what they think has happened, what they think the government's role should have been, and that might be changing their mind.
You think that a lot of people in the Republican Party are still on the fence as to what the government's role in mandated vaccines should be?
In the Republican Party, no.
That's the question. That's the conversation we're having.
Then no. I'm agreeing. I'll agree with Brad then.
So just to clarify here, Republicans, because we're talking about the nominee for president for the Republicans. These are the people who matter. And yes, as I mentioned, Democrats who want to pull Republican ballots in states where that's permitted to vote in the primary. People have made up their mind on Trump. Yes or no? Primary votes.
No.
You think no?
Among Republicans, no. I think there's probably more uniformity among Democrats who've made up their mind about Trump than among Republicans.
Because they all hate him. Ryan, that's not the point. Isn't that not what you just said?
Well, my point is that even there are people, maybe even in this room, the call is coming from inside the house, Annie, that have not made their mind up on who they would vote for in a primary yet.
We've asked you many times, and your answer has been pretty consistent.
It's been that I would lean Trump, but I'm convincible. I could be persuaded. So I would put myself on that fence.
So nothing changes. The primary rolls around, you're voting Trump then?
I don't know. Well, because there will be too much that will change.
But I'm saying if nothing changes, right now you're Trump.
If Trump just blows himself up, which is very possible.
What would that look like to you?
I don't know. I can't answer that question because I don't know until I see it. But if I see something, I go, okay, that's it. That's over the line. I'm out. That could happen. He may have already done that. The NFT thing to me was ridiculous. That kind of stuff.
You're citing the NFT thing as potential blowing up, but not the fact that he just came out and blamed pro-lifers for the loss in the midterms?
No, I saw that too, and I don't like that kind of stuff. But
wait, we don't have all day.
Okay.
Good grief. You're defending Trump, so I'm putting you in the Trump camp.
Okay, fair. That's fine. You can do that.
Brad, would you said that there is a super small minority of people who are on the fence about Trump?
Yeah, very small.
There's like one, and you're right.
Yep, he's right here.
There he is. Vaccines, government involvement.
Yeah, like I said, I think there's a super small. I think it's bigger than the people that have made up their mind about Trump, but I think it's still super small.
You know what Ron DeSantis is doing in Florida?
Yeah, he's investigating vaccines.
You know who cannot run on his record on vaccines?
Donald Trump.
Correct. You cannot. That Venn diagram does not touch.
Nope.
You cannot be as staunchly just anti-vaccine, but B, which is a much wider group. There are a lot of people who have gotten the vaccine who may have chosen to get the vaccine with or without any mandate, being a federal worker or an NFL player or anything like that. There are a lot of people who would have still chosen to get the vaccine who are absolutely in opposition to the idea of mandates, who are absolutely in opposition to, I don't know, some might say the warp speed with which it was pushed through. There is a large group of people that are not persuadable. We have one here. We found him. That's why he's here. There is a huge percentage of the Republican Party where their opinions and position on the vaccine is their leading concern. And Donald Trump will lose that battle if that is what the issue is made. And Ron DeSantis is laying the groundwork right now in Florida to have receipts to use that, in my opinion, as the Achilles heel for Donald Trump. Donald Trump, to this date, has been very defensive and very supportive of his success in getting the vaccine through. If Joe Biden would have done exactly what Donald Trump did when it came to vaccines, he would, well, he is the Democrat darling. It's amazing. But he would be Nobel Peace Prize winning Joe Biden for pushing this vaccine through. And Operation Warp Speed, we had Health and Human Services from the Trump administration on this show, because we used to have access like that inside the administration with the Trump administration. We had Health and Human Services on to say, like, how can you safely push a vaccine through this fast? And they said it's so much bureaucracy. You got to think of everything going through the trials and the tests and all the stuff that goes along with getting something like that approved. What happens is you get the file folder, it goes to the next people, goes on the bottom of the pile, they get to it eventually. He goes, no, top of the pile every time. Only priority that existed for everybody in this process was to get this vaccine through. And I think that that's a good explanation as to how they could fast track it, because it didn't get caught up in the government bureaucracy that many other people or many other things would get caught up in. But that's not going to satisfy a lot of people. And in years into this, everybody is right to be skeptical about anything that has to do with, you got to constantly be pursuing medical expertise and medical opinion on anything. Good grief. Are we supposed to eat eggs right now? Are eggs healthy for you? Because every year they come out. Like, we don't even have a consensus on eggs, let alone a fast-tracked warp speed level vaccine. I don't think that Donald Trump wins the primary because of his position and involvement on the vaccines. And if he does a 180 right now, I don't think he can explain himself out of that box.
No.
And whether Ron DeSantis is taking him out of the primary as a direct competitor, I think that he's laying the foundation for that to push against. That's the issue that is bigger for Republicans. Because I think that the people who are Trump or not, that's where the vast majority of voting Republicans, especially primary voting Republicans, let's be real, they know what they're doing. They love him or they don't. They love him or they say, I liked him. I liked what he did, but we need to move on from this. There are two camps. I know and love people in both of those camps. And again, I'm not talking to you Democrats. I know how you feel. You're pretty clear. pretty well-spoken on that issue. We get it. We understand it. Moving on. You pick your guy. Hopefully he's not 87. Knowing how passionate people are, Trump or no, and knowing how passionate people are on the vaccine, I don't think those two things fit in the same box. And I don't think anyone's talking about it.
It's a very strong case you're making for this swing voter here.
I don't know where you fall on that.
No, and I don't either. Well,
I don't want to talk about the
issue itself. No,
yes,
I just think what you're saying politically is a very, very smart maneuver by DeSantis, if that is what it is. Because if that's what it is, you've just pointed out there could be the heel right there that he hits Trump on. I mean, I've never heard anybody say that, and I think that's fascinating.
I thought of it at about, I don't know, I tweeted when I was like, I'm coming up with things right now, and it was like 2:33 in the morning. I was like, that's it. There's nobody awake to tell, so I told Twitter. And then you guys at 2:40 on a Tuesday. I still have to look at the sheet to find out what day it is. It's Tuesday.
Today is Tuesday.
You think that's crazy?
No. I feel like I've heard that before. I just can't put my finger on where, and it wasn't any.
Because you're in my head.
It was no big high-profile person, except for Annie. I mean, she's pretty high-profile.
No big high-profile person.
I am, in fact, not high-profile.
But no, that makes perfect sense. That is the thing. Like, if you think back, remember when Donald Trump went on stage with Bill O'Reilly and he touted the vaccine, and what did the crowd do?
They booed.
They booed him.
They did.
It was like
He's
everybody
never backed down from it, as far as I know.
No, he hasn't.
He can't. Then if you have to take responsibility for the whole dang thing.
Well, here's the other thing is that he, as a person, as everybody knows, doesn't back down from anything.
Just did this when
everybody
knows.
And once he takes a position.
If you can't hear my hand gestures, he did a very Trumpian. Here's how it goes. Your hands are out, extended to the front. Open hands. Everybody put your hands out in front unless you're driving. and then you extend them out to the side, and then you bring them back in. That's what he did.
Then you make the okay sign with both hands.
And you go out.
You know what? DeSantis does a little bit of this too. So
he does a lot of it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm okay. I'm not showing any favoritism.
Donald Trump made him.
I just think it's really interesting. This is the kind of thing that if DeSantis were running, he would do things like this. He would do things like release a memoir, which he already did. He's starting to convince me that maybe he is running when I really, until now.
You're really high on that memoir thing.
I'm telling you.
Ryan doesn't know anything about anything. He is on the fence about everything except for that dang memoir.
It's those signals.
That's the indicator.
There's
signals. Something Ryan knows. It's writing books.
That's right.
He wrote a book. Are you running for president?
No. Mine is about robots. And
yours isn't a memoir?
Isn't that kind of where we're headed?
In 20 years, every political candidate will write a book about robots to show that they're interested in office. But not yet. We're not quite there yet. I'm just saying, I think that what you're saying is very, very interesting political maneuvering. And I can't wait to watch to see. This is going to be a really interesting year.
Put it on
for
the board
that very,
for a
very
show
purpose.
back.
Yeah.
I'm calling it right now. It might not even happen this year. If I were on DeSantis, I'd wait as long as possible.
Mm-hmm.
There's nobody who's going to come out of the non-Trump field to represent the Republicans who's going to have more sachet than Ron DeSantis. So he can wait. Other people are going to have to fundraise. I mean, Ron DeSantis has an enormous amount of money in his war chest. Donald Trump coming out so early as a candidate for the presidency is not a sign of strength.
Mm-mm.
Donald Trump, I mean, maybe we'll have to have a watch for Ryan Wiggins to find out. Like, if Ryan comes in and says Trump blew him up, then you know that it is, like, reached peak level. For Donald Trump to come out and say that pro-lifers are the ones who really screwed the pooch in the midterm election, I'm like, probably a pretty big size of your base. Stop it. I mean, I said right after the midterm election as well that I think that the abortion position, the abortion policy on the Republican side of the ticket needs to be more buttoned up. And it needs to have a policy-oriented solution. And people in the private sector need to 100% feel like they're part of the solution to this problem. So don't sit around and wait for the government to show up and solve these problems when you can help literally right now. Call a local pregnancy center and help them. Pregnancy center. Donald Trump continues to do weird things, and I wish he weren't. But I feel like I've said that so many times. And he's not going to stop. But he's still, Ryan Wiggins is still on the fence.
I'm still there because he could be the guy.
I mean, just wait. Donald Trump likes to attack. That's when he's strong, when he's attacking. And if he doesn't have anybody to attack, he's self-destructing.
And then we'll get to watch the Democrats defend Donald Trump for creating the vaccine that they love
like
so
much fun.
Let's go! 2023 is going to be, as kids say, lit. I don't think they say that anymore.
That's what the old kids say.
Yeah,
the new kids say steak sauce.
Mortgage paying millennials. Do they?
A1. Yeah.
I don't think they do. Do they?
I think that's a real thing.
They say steak sauce?
Yeah, I think that's a thing.
I'm not around those kinds of kids. I'll have to ask my husband, who teaches middle school and is way cooler in that respect than I am. I'm not jealous. We'll be right back.
The Annie Frey Show is streaming online. Watch us live on YouTube and subscribe.
Mark Cox here. Join me, Annie Frey, and Mark Reardon, along with Thomas Helbig and Bob Kershaw for the next Protecting Your Retirement educational event. It's Tuesday, January 24th at the Frontenac Hilton at 6:30. Seats are limited, so go online today at retirementkey.com. Here's Thomas with more.
Are you nearing retirement or already retired and concerned about losing even more money this year in your retirement accounts? Did you know if you're 59 and a half or older, you can now roll over your 401k tax-free to protect your nest egg from any more losses and still generate more income than most investment options. Would you like to know why our clients have not lost a penny with all the market volatility this past year? You'll get all the answers and more. If you're 59 and a half or older, you don't want to miss this event.
Join the official financial advisors of my show, Thomas Helbig and Bob Kershaw, Tuesday, January 24th at the Frontenac Hilton at 6:30. Go online at retirementkey.com. That's retirementkey.com.
So the Diamond Shop in Clayton has been serving St. Louisans since 1910. And I want you to understand how they help people go through the process of making that very special jewelry purchase that they have been potentially thinking about for some time. 6 months, same as cash. That's a very important part of knowing how the Diamond Shop works. They can help you finance whatever it is you're looking for over the course of 6 months, and you kind of get the opportunity to pay for it in a way that you can afford. Going to the Diamond Shop and talking to the experts there, they're going to be able to help you with your budget to understand this is what we can do, that we can custom make something for you. They have a wide selection of engagement and wedding rings, but they also have fine jewelry. They have watches. They do custom jewelry, watch repair and jewelry repair. They also will do appraisals, and they also buy gold. Reach out to the Diamond Shop for your next jewelry purchase. If you maybe got some money for Christmas and you want to buy yourself something nice, reach out to the Diamond Shop to help walk you through that process. You're going to love the fact that you have people in the business that are going to cater to you every time you walk in their store in Clayton. TheDiamondShop.net.
It's 2023, and it's time to get your home zero-resified with all new services, 23% off. You must book and clean in January. Call right now, 314-474-2020, or book online at zeroresstl.com. Ask for the Mark Reardon Special. That's 314-474-2020.
You're listening to the Annie Frey Show live from the Air Comfort Service Heating, Cooling, and Insulation Studio. Make sure you're heating your home safely this winter with a heating system check. And for all other heating services, repairs, or if you need a new heating or HVAC system, visit aircomfortservice.com.
The Mark Reardon Show.
Uncle Ted Nugent.
Who needs Comedy Central with Democrats? Even some of the traditional Democrats are starting to win and furl their brows and go, huh?
Weekdays from 3 to 6 on 97.1 FM Talk. You're listening to the Annie Frey Show.
So I want to, before we turn it over to Hannah here and get the results of today's YouTube live chat poll, which is, do you support the 5 lead reps standing against Kevin McCarthy? Yes or no? Annie Frey YouTube channel, vote in the live chat. This was an article I was reading a little bit earlier today on Fox News. DeSantis' presidency would be just as terrifying as Trump's. Vanity Fair article laments. I know. Everybody's shocked. This is what this report says. The piece from the left-wing magazine began with a series of reasons DeSantis should not be the next U.S. president, including an endorsement from Twitter CEO Elon Musk. Bigoted policies and authoritarian behaviors. It was the latest in a string of reports and stories from outlets vehemently opposed to Trump, who have declared DeSantis just as bad, if not worse. Quote, should we be happy? Shouldn't we be happy about the fact that, at the very least, he doesn't seem like the type of guy who would Sharpie over a hurricane map to cover his own rear or force people to think about what he gets up to in the bathroom? And the answer is no, we shouldn't be. These people are very, very worried about the DeSantis-Trump showdown that hasn't even manifested yet, which makes me think that everybody knows that it's coming. People are way more afraid of Ron DeSantis than they are Donald Trump because they think Donald Trump is easier to beat. Because they know that they have beaten him one way or the other already. Ron DeSantis, I don't think that they have that same confidence for. And the more I see people on the left bugging out about Ron DeSantis, the more I think Ron DeSantis doesn't need to do or say anything right now. He got people talking about him in rooms about what happens when he becomes president, and he hasn't declared for president yet. Don't spend any of that money yet. They're doing the pub for you, you know? Anyway, today's YouTube live chat poll. Do you support the 5 lead reps standing against Kevin McCarthy? Yes or no, Ryan?
Yes, I do. Simply because they seem to be challenging the system more than McCarthy, and I like the whole we don't want to do politics as usual thing. So I support.
So you just like disruption?
In this sense, I do.
Brad?
I'm a no. I don't see. I mean, maybe they're moving it. Maybe they're moving the party in a direction that I would rather them be. But I still just don't think that McCarthy's the big bad rhino that everybody makes him out to be. He's a California Republican, but that doesn't make him a rhino.
You have to be somebody who, A, is going to get reelected in the event that you do the bidding of the Republican Party, but you also, have to be somebody who can bring people together.
Mm-hmm.
That person who's going to bring people together is not going to be, like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is not going to be the speaker, because she is not going to coalesce the Democrats into doing something as a party. You can have wings of the party. I encourage wings of parties. I encourage having the Freedom Caucus and the, they have the Black Caucus, which apparently Republicans that are black are not allowed to be in. That's kind of ridiculous and racist. But you have to be somebody at the leadership level who is able to bring everybody together. I think Kevin McCarthy could be that person. I've seen Kevin McCarthy has made more concessions to this group of people than I thought he should have really had to have made. So I'm definitely, at this point, a no vote. You should have had this worked out beforehand. And they tried to get Kevin McCarthy to compromise. He did. And they're still saying no, which means if your only point is to take Kevin McCarthy out to disrupt the system, then it becomes a lot more about you. And there's a lot of reports out there that are saying that these 5 are asking for specific committee appointments for themselves as the holdup. So that becomes way less about the party and way more about these individuals. And that just goes back to the same thing I've said about Trump. Trump manifested America first as a modern political philosophy, and I am all about it. And as long as he's America first, I'm all about it. If it becomes Trump first, I'm out. And this feels like an America first gone maybe a little bit more self-centered. But we'll wait and see. Maybe they are getting some more concessions that are going to put the party in a stronger position. I haven't seen it yet, but we'll wait and see how it goes.
All right, so the YouTube poll is asking today, do you support the 5 lead reps standing against Kevin McCarthy, yes or no? I will read some comments before we get to the results. Doc Bailey from YouTube says, I answered the poll question as I do not support them. I say that only because there are only 5 of them. So much needs to get done for conservatives in such little time. We need unity. Bob, to you from our YouTube page, said, I voted no. They had the chance to beat him and they can't. We've gotten tons of comments about Kevin McCarthy himself. Grant from YouTube said, we need a speaker with a backbone. I don't think McCarthy is that guy.
Have we seen, is there any example that can be given right now as how Kevin McCarthy has no backbone?
Not really. I mean, he has the conservative credentials. That's why I say this is more of a protest against the idea of politics as usual more than him.
But to what end?
But I don't know. That's the question. Is that, well, I kind of support the idea of it, but the practicality is that who else is going to do it? He does have all those characteristics of bringing the party together. So eventually, you make your point known, you go a couple rounds, and then you elect him speaker. That's to me the way
Matt Gaetz is going to end up, well, he can get away with not voting for it. But you think these other people are just going to...
No, I don't know what's going to happen. I really don't. That's what makes this an interesting story.
Because I feel like at this point, you've made such an example out of saying, not Kevin McCarthy, it can't be, that how do you change?
Right.
How do you just go, okay...
All right.
It's been 3 hours.
Yeah,
I missed lunch.
Wait until the whatever he did to get you to change comes out, and then people know about your politics.
Your thing. Yeah.
Hurry up and go vote in the live chat, folks. You guys more comments?
Yes. Scott Lane from YouTube says, I support them. We must do something to stop the rhinos. It sends a message that some of us are tired.
Dan Crenshaw says they're the rhinos. Real
Yes,
salty there on Capitol Hill
All right,
today.
let's check the results. Once again, the YouTube poll is asking, do you support the 5 lead reps standing against Kevin McCarthy, yes or no? This just changed. We have 160 votes. 51% of the people voted no. They don't support the 5 lead reps standing against McCarthy. 49% say yes. And this has been split pretty much the whole day.
Yeah. That's just more indication to me that, like, I think kind of what Ryan is saying about pushing against the status quo, I agree with that. I just don't understand why this is the way you're doing it. It doesn't make sense to me that if you're going to demand from Kevin McCarthy, that's not the coach. Mike McCarthy is the Dallas coach. Kevin McCarthy wants to be the Speaker of the House, people. Get it straight, Annie. When you want to make a point, do so. Kevin McCarthy has made so many concessions already to Matt Gaetz and this crew of people. That's the thing. I don't think there's anything Kevin McCarthy can do right now that would satisfy them. There's nothing. His existence as Kevin McCarthy is enough to vote no against. And I don't know if that's productive for the American people. Like, they're not making their case to me quite yet. But we'll wait and see. A third ballot will be coming soon, I guess. President Biden apparently expected to announce his 2024 decision soon. Somebody ought to let him know ahead of time so he knows he's going to be on TV or something. We appreciate you being here every day. Thank you for joining us once again. We are back. It's 2023, and we are so grateful that you've chosen to spend a little bit of your time with us. The Mark Reardon Show on St. Louis's home for conservative talk when we come back.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack.